We're recording, Barry.
What's up, everybody?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, Derek stroked out. Call paramedics. You're listening to the Borderline Hostility podcast. I'm your host, Barry. I am trapped in a killer's basement, obviously, based on the background here. My man Derek, representing some Hustler Mag behind him there, and Will.
Hello.
Sponsoring nothing. Can't sponsor a hustler like Derek
Well, WTF, mate.
So Derek has Hustler behind him because we wanted to discuss, and it's a great topic to discuss because of what's going on in the news. That's People versus Larry Flint movie that came out in, was it 96? Will?
Yes, sir.
Where he pretty much took on censorship and interesting movie. I had not seen it before. I don't think Derek had seen it before, but we watched it last night and have some good notes on it. But before we start talking about that movie,
Talking about some boobies.
Before we start talking about boobies and movies, okay. What you been doing?
You first, Will. I got to think about what I've been doing because I can't remember.
Man, I'm trying to think what I did this week. Well, in preparation for our show, I read a couple books about the freedom of speech. I read a book called "The Brief Narrative and Case Trial of John Peter Zenger." He published in the 1730s. He published an article about a governor. I think it was the governor of New York. His name was William Cosby, which is weird because Bill Cosby. He criticized him, and he got put in jail for 9 months. And they tried to sue him for libel, and it was like one of the first things that they, one of the first major cases of libel that was where the right guy won for free speech. And it was pretty wild when I was reading the book. It's a book from a couple years ago, like the updated version of it. They make reference to the Falwell versus Larry Flint trial.
You said 1730, so still colonial America?
Yes. Like you couldn't you could not criticize government at all. And that was a rule that they had in England and that because it included the American colonies. Then I read there's a book just called Jerry Falwell versus Larry Flint, and I'm not sure if it's the basis for the Larry Flint movie, but it's just all about the court case, which is pretty cool. And I read a book about Lenny Bruce, just because he went through obscenity trials in the 50s and 60s, and I think we could probably have a pretty cool run of free speech episodes if we want to do it. We can do one on Lenny Bruce, and we can do one on Alan Burr if y'all want to do it. But besides that, played a couple video games. I mean, I beat Super Metroid in an hour and 27 minutes. I was very proud of it.
Damn.
Yeah.
I forget. Was that one of the ones that you had played as a kid and all that, or?
I had it as a kid, and I got stuck in the place because hey, kitty cat.
She beat Metroid in an hour and 15 minutes, Will.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Booger? You tell Will. Tell him. Tell Will. Say something. Don't be that cricket that sings and then stops singing. Yeah, okay.
Now, I got stuck when I was a kid, and I couldn't. That wall jump thing that we bitched about previously, and I started watching speed runs, and I can't do the shit as good as the world record holders can do it, but I'm getting better at it. I mean, just because they do shit that's just crazy. It doesn't seem like it's possible.
Yeah.
Looks like Derek's cat started an OnlyFans site in the background.
Yeah.
There's some catty asshole.
Yep.
And then looks like she's interacting with
us. Sniffing the belly button.
It's a giant woman behind you, Derek. Don't turn around. So what have you been doing?
Been playing this game Bloodstained Ritual of Night, which I think that Will would like a lot.
That's the sequel, right?
I don't know.
Like Curse of the Moon and then Bloodstained, something. I don't.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's basically kind of like a Castlevania game. But it's pretty cool. It's got like a One thing I like about it, I like a lot, like games have, it's got a ton of different weapons you can mess around with throughout the game. It's not like, you know, you'll get like 3 weapons the entire game or anything like that. Lots of weapons to choose from and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's a pretty cool game. It's a little bit buggy. Keeps crashing on me like randomly, but
Is it in early access?
no, I think it's been out of like a year or two, but
I've not bought an early access game off Steam, but there's I think it's the Legend Bowl, which is like retro. It's not Tecmo Bowl per se. There's a game called Touchdown Fever that's more like, it's more vertical field. Like it looks like a 10-yard fight meets Tecmo Bowl. It's a freaking awesome looking game, but it's early access, and all the things I want to play with it aren't in it yet. So I'm like, well, I don't know buy it until it's like ready.
You said Touchdown Fever, and I don't know why, but I immediately went to like John Madden casting, like, oh, he's got touchdown fever. This seems like something he would say. But yeah, I've bought a few games on early access, and it's mostly been good. Like usually games are pretty well developed, but yeah, the problem I have is if you buy them on early access and then you play them, you're burnt out of the game by the time it comes out with everything. So that kind of sucks. Then you miss out on stuff, and you're like, don't want to go back, and you don't want to go back enough to play it.
Yeah, it's wish list.
Man, I can only imagine like how cold it'll be in hell when Will plays an early access game.
He's gonna get his computer one of these days. He's gonna get set up.
Will's on that late access train, that 10, 15 year late access train.
And he's getting to pitfall. He's getting close to catching up.
Yeah. He's just getting past the Atari 2600 era. Will,
stop picking on Will. For this week, I've been.
Is Will still there?
Will.
Hello.
There he is. Okay, he's really low.
Can barely hear him.
I
think he's beaten off.
He probably walked off and getting some lube and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably some icy hot for the tip.
Hollowed out a carrot so you could, you know.
Hollowed out a carrot. That's like the Puritan sex toy.
Oh man, I get these like, I guess so. Is it called? Fuck. Every plate. It's kind of like the cheaper version of Freshly, and
it's like already eaten stuff.
Yeah. The returns, refurbs is refurb food, and it came with carrots. Man, those carrots were like they're like that big around. Like I don't know if like that does anything on the camera. They're bigger than $50, like fucking huge carrots. I don't know, it's just weird.
Is it me, or like if the carrot still has like the stem on it and like the nice greenery, it's more appetizing? Like you put a carrot in front of me, I'm like, I may eat it.
Yeah.
You bring like a carrot in and it has like all the greenery on it. It's like beautiful. I'm like, I'll eat that fucking carrot. Like that carrot looks good. I don't know why, but this looks appetizing.
I don't know. I just use them in cooking. I don't just sit there and gnaw on it like fucking Bugs Bunny or anything.
Well, we had that bunny in our house, and
which they don't actually really like carrots, but yeah,
we kept carrots in there and like different greenery and stuff like that. So there's always like vegetables in there that I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot. I'm fat. I should lose weight, and there you go. Okay. So I eat one, forget how much I don't like them.
I think Will might need to reconnect. Can't hear him.
Motherfucker.
Damn it, Will, turn your mic up. Maybe his mic turned off or something. While Will's operating, I'll just finish up with our what you doing section. But I've mentioned in the wish list, I have added a bunch of Double Fine games to my wish list. I've been watching the Double Fine Adventure. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not. It's like there he goes. It's like a 20-part documentary around their Kickstarter like 10 years ago for the Broken Age. They did a Broken Age classic point-and-click adventure where they asked for $300,000 and made like $3.5 million.
Jesus, that's nice.
And they turned it into like a game that like was too big, and it turned into just something that they just. It's a cool documentary, and I want to play the game, but I just moved it to my wish list because I've been busy doing other stuff. I've been doing my programming tutorials again, and switched over to the RPG. Restarted the RPG one because I think the game I've been looking at. I was going to do a side-scroll adventure type of thing, but I think the RPG setup would be a better setup for, in terms of just like overworld, moving around. I think so. I've been going through that, and that's really. I mean, I've been nonstop on that thing.
So I was like, where do I know that name? The Double Fine, and so they did Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, of course, Broken Age. You just mentioned Day of the Tentacle back in '93. That's pretty wild.
Tim Schafer worked on like Monkey Island. He's like pretty much a granddad. Him and Ron Gilbert are like granddaddies of point and click.
Full Throttle, Grim Fandango.
Like any classic point and click outside of the Sierra ones are pretty much got his name on them.
Are you there, Will?
I don't know.
Yeah,
we can hear you now.
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound good. Back to normal.
As awful as normal.
Okay. Okay. That's great. We'll make the jokes in a second. Now, this I can't figure out what's going on with my computer, guys. Now, maybe you all can help me out there. Like in the past couple weeks, whenever we've done this, my microphone works fine, and I don't do anything. And then, like, you all will say something, and then I'll talk, and the little box doesn't light up, and then you all just lose me. Do you all know what the hell's going on?
It's your connection. I mean, it's just got to be internet connection. If we're literally cracking and breaking, it's got to be your internet connection.
Well, I don't know for like the low audio, but yeah, I don't know.
I thought he was saying like we break up and then like he gets signed off. If he gets knocked off, I mean, that's what's happening. I mean,
no, he's talking about us like.
No, I'm not getting knocked off. I'm politely listening to you all, and then like okay, well, it's time for me to talk, and then I talk, and then there's nothing. And then you all, like, which is really nice of you all. Y'all are so understanding and don't take cheap shots at me, talking about like how I'm years behind technology wise, which is great. I mean, I appreciate y'all's patience with it, but is there anything that you all know that I'm doing wrong?
I mean, if your levels are all janky and changing and stuff, and I don't know. But
here's the thing, Barry. We're doing another lap. It has nothing to do with the levels. It's like
I thought what Derek was saying. I was saying it's an internet connectivity issue, and I thought Derek was saying you were saying it was you were losing.
No, you think he was saying that the microphone doesn't light up like it's receiving him talking, which, yeah, I'm not sure why I would do that.
Oh, okay. That's
okay. Wait.
I kind of
doing it now.
Yeah, you sound fine. You sound normal.
All right, guys.
I went through the little watch. I did my little watch doing, covered some stuff, and then was kind of ready for some news. I don't know if you're ready for some news. I'm ready for some news.
You need like a segue, like.
I make that joke every week, and then I need like a little just a sound that I can play on my phone. Yeah, when it's time.
And we need like a picture to superimpose of Will with like a hat with a feather in it or whatever.
I like superimposing his head on a newscaster.
Yeah.
Everything in the studio.
Well, we'll superimpose him on a black newscasters to get us in trouble.
I don't know what that's called.
Reverse blackface.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what that's called.
Okay. All right, guys. In the news, this is going to be somewhat truncated because I ran through and did it. Okay, Kentucky news. We're at almost 404,000 confirmed cases. According to the government status map, though, only 28 counties of the 120 are red. Our map is looking better. A lot more orange and yellow on that map than there has been. But it's fool's gold because a good portion of the state was locked down with the ice storms and snow, as my sister declared it.
Yeah.
And the last thing, we're at 4,625 deaths in Kentucky due to COVID.
That ice storm is probably more of a lockdown than any lockdown we've had.
Yeah.
Because people didn't have the choice.
Okay. It was, I don't know. That's why I always, if people can actually see a threat, they'll stay inside. So I'm thinking we need to construct like a Godzilla-like creature that's just like it's a bullshit creature, but like we named him the Corona Monster or something like that, and like stage it so it snatches up a couple kids that are by themselves on the streets, and that might get people locked down and stay inside their fucking houses.
Well, I'd say it's mostly probably Republicans that are, the anti-maskers and the
Derek, I mean Patriots. I'm sorry. I mean,
Patriot Party. So we need to come up with a monster that they're scared of. Like, I don't know, like the taxation monster for all these people. It's like we need a monster that says they're going to tax the rich, and all these poor people will hide because it affects them somehow.
Well, then we're have like a just like say like a Superman thing. It's got like a coat hanger and it's like abortion guy, like And, but anyway, national news. Try to be quick about this one as well. The first four things all concern our new president. We still don't have stimulus checks, and every day we don't get one is one more day of accumulation of bills and blatantly broken promises by politicians. The whole $1,400 equals $200 used car salesman Jedi trick is going to cost the Democrats everything in 2022. They're giving the opponents ammo.
I don't know why it's taking so long. I don't know why they didn't just fucking hammer this shit through in the first couple weeks.
Well, because they're still doing riders to every bill. They're just stuffing stuff in it still. I mean, there's a little drawing that someone did, usually in like a far righter, but this one was actually pretty accurate. It was the cost of actually giving stimulus to every American, and it's a third of what the stimulus package is.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just gave us the $622 billion, and that was the bill, we'd have our money. But both sides are still plugging stuff away in there. Everybody acts like it's a Democrat.
I mean, the last one that was passed under Trump was like the same way. It was like a small portion of it was the money went to the people, and there was all this just complete and utter BS.
I mean, but there's still money that has to be spent. I mean, you talk about like medicine distribution, this general supplies. I mean, I'm sure there's some business loan stuff in there, coverage.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the stimulus?
You could just do its own bill, but
exactly.
It's not that way. It's not a thing that Congress actually ever does.
Fucking assholes.
But can you all hear me good?
Yep.
Yeah, you cut out for a second.
Well, it didn't happen to the coronavirus. Is something that just happened to somebody. It happened to all of us. And for some reason, the $2,000 that became $1,400, that doesn't. There's people that owe $8,000 in rent, and and they were told to stay home due to no fault of their own, and a lot of businesses closed down. They aren't going to get reopened, but it's bullshit. It seems like they're not feeling any kind of pressure because they were just on vacation, while Texas was in a blizzard, they were on vacation. But anyway, on to the next thing. The $15 hour minimum wage seems to be dead on arrival, which really sucks because the argument that prices will soar if wages go up, and there's blood in that theory shit. That would lead to people thinking gone up at all. In fact, the only thing that hasn't gone up, in our lifetimes, has been wages. Everything else is way more than it used to be. Used to be you can go to Taco Bell and eat good on $6. You'd be hard to get 2 tacos for $6 at Taco Bell now. And I know my Taco Bell theory of economics may seem crazy, but I think there's some legs in it.
What's funny is I saw a post. I'm doing some simple math real fast here, but I saw a post that discussed how it's never brought up how much CEOs make in that. To go from say I think it is to $10 an hour pre-tax to $15 an hour. And it's $10,000 to a worker. That's a full-time worker making $10 an hour, now $15 an hour. So it's $10,000, which is not pocket change by any means. But if a CEO makes $20 million, if you cut him to something more, $5 million that's $15 million that you could split up amongst workers to cover some stuff that they really need.
See, the problem I have with that is I think that's the fault of the left. is the left always thinks that the rich aren't going to get theirs. The CEO making 20 million, if they pass $15 minimum wage, he's going to be making 25 million because it's going to be all the people that talk and be like, oh, look what I did. I give my workers $15 an hour now. I'm so great. Okay, let's give him more money. He will never lose money.
Yeah.
At worst case scenario, he'll keep the same. The $50 minimum wage, I agree it needs to be done. It's something that's like people complain about obviously they're going to phase it in. They're not just going to overnight say $15 immediately, but like people I've seen where like they've shown like, look, this minimum wage should have increased over time. And that's why it's like a drastic measure because, it should have been blah, 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 blah. And we're way down here already. But I mean, I do question, like, I hate when people are like, oh, prices won't skyrocket. And then like in a story and it's okay, where's the explanation or math? Because the problem that I see is, okay, let's say, always go back to old McDonald's or some shit. So let's say you have all these people at the bottom making $10 an hour. So they immediately make $15 an hour. Well, okay, phase in whatever. Let's say they're making $15 an hour. So all the people that are making $12 an hour are like, okay, I shouldn't be making the same as someone who's been here half as long as I have. So they need to be making $17 an hour. And it just keeps going up and up and up until you hit like, say, a $60,000 a year range, and then maybe it'll kind of peter out. But, people are, it's gonna have to escalate for everybody in the employment because the lower tier people can't be making the same amount of money as the people that do more complex jobs or have been there longer. So they have to get more money too. But like, your allegory a second ago, like one, the CEO's never going to make less money. It's just not going to happen. It happens like every once in a blue moon, but that's like one in like a billion probably. And so you have McDonald's and you have that one worker, it's $10,000 more a year, but they have 400,000 workers that are going to be making $10 or $10,000 more a year. So,
the argument of that person, us paying for our own benefits, essentially, us paying for our own, you're going to take a lot of people off of benefits. Like, you literally could cut some benefits because people are not going to be eligible for, say, food stamps if they're making $17 an hour now. They're out of that range, so there's less money in that pot that we as the working class are paying for in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that's a problem is that the food stamps and different things like that, they don't correlate well with pay because it's like, hey, we'll give you say $8, I don't know, like $8 an hour, $4 an hour, whatever the fuck it is, if you make this much. But then if you make another $1 an hour, you get nothing. It's like, how the fuck does that make sense? I mean, I've worked with people that are like, don't give me a raise because if I make like a tiny bit more, I lose a ton more.
Yeah.
Which is just insanity. It should fucking correlate evenly so people have the want to, move up and make more money and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then be incentivized.
You mentioned like a store. Let's say that store, I'm trying to think. I don't know. We're talking full-time workers versus part-time. And McDonald's is an example where it's probably a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Maybe more so. Where like you're not going to have that many full-time employees there. But say it's $100,000 increase to that store's payroll, that store in itself.
Yeah.
So that's where you raise the prices, and people are like, "Well, you're going to be paying $10 for a Big Mac."
Yeah.
$1 on a Big Mac is going to, or $1 on your extra value meals, for instance, is going to make that up in month or two. Like
like a dollar meal may go up to like what, $1.20 or something. Yeah. I'm just guessing, but it's not going to skyrocket incredibly. And also it's like I've seen people say like, you make it sound like the labor costs of a place are the biggest costs for the building. It's like you still have the food costs and all that stuff it's not like labor costs are strictly based on what, cost of the food item is.
It's usually about a third third for your material, third for your labor, and a third for
Like
everything
renting,
else. Lights on,
utilities, and all that crap. Yeah.
utilities, yeah.
Still there, Will?
Well,
Okay.
oh yeah, I was listening to you all. No, I just
making sure.
well, no, the thing that upsets me about that is, like, I saw a cartoon from it, and I wish I would tagged it and sent it to you. But it was basically like, like, hey, okay, so you want people to work meaningless jobs, like, and I'm not saying any job's meaningless, but like the big thing is, like, people that work at McDonald's are considered, well, fast food are considered to be the bottom chain of like the work industry, even though we kind of need it, because where else are you gonna get a meal in like 6 minutes? Like, uh, but like, it's okay. Well, we want these people to have a. Well, but the thing is, okay, and the argument was, okay, do you want these people to do this job? Yes, but you want to make sure that they kind of live in town so that they can work, right? Well, yes, they should be fair, be treated fair and paid fair. No, that's socialism. It's like, no, they're working.
Yeah,
they're not just like, I mean, I'm not saying that people are like these are people that they make, what they do makes money for their company, and like, and the amount that they get paid versus what they take in is, I mean, it's so marginal. And like, and if, especially if it's a big fucking company like Walmart, McDonald's, Amazon,
yeah,
like, they've got money to burn. Like, and they make that money just like, like they're ruthless, and like, and they're doing it. And the way you keep good help is you pay them. Like Costco, like, did that thing where they voluntarily raised their wages to $16 an hour, and that's the way you keep an employee, is if you pay them not to leave.
Well, that, and you're gonna get the best from Walmart and the best from the Sam's Club, and all those box stores like that. You're gonna get the best of everybody else jumping ship, and then Walmart's gonna have to increase their pay unless they're gonna go fully automated, or if they're gonna cut down their registers even more.
And I saw like something that I think they were trying to put in with this $15 minimum wage thing, which was that it was, I don't know if they're gonna have like a cutoff, but it was like, geared towards companies that have like this much in revenue. Because you could see where like your mom and pop's grocery store down the street having their $10,000 a year per, maybe another $30,000 a year for their 3 employees could really hurt them. But I also foresee the problem where, let's take your McDonald's. They have these metrics. They're like, okay, we need this much profit out of the store and blah, 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 blah. And if those metrics don't change with the increase in pay, that means people are going to get less hours, or less people are going to be hired. And that's,
I can definitely see, if it ever happened, our insurance cuts go up. Like where I work, there's, here's how much they put in the pot, and here's how much we put in the pot. And those percentages could drastically change. We're like, oh, you're making $15 an hour now, but you're now paying for 75% of your medical. So they're just going to take it back out and put it back into your insurance.
Well, the thing is, I think that's how, like, we probably shouldn't have healthcare should be free. Like, because, I mean, but that's another argument. But I think how it used to be, like, because like insurance companies, when employers started offering insurance, it was in lieu of actually paying people like more money. It's like, okay, well, you get $8 at this company, where you get $7 at this company, but we'll give you insurance. And the people since they bought the insurance in bulk, it was cheap as shit. But like, but it's like, like people, I don't know. I just think that, like, CEOs and owners of companies, if they want to have quality employees, they have to pay for them. Like, I mean, you get what you pay for.
the University of Kentucky, UK, there's plenty of people have jobs there just for the insurance, because they have good benefits, especially for like the family, when you want to get your whole family on it. So these people are taking less pay. I mean, there's a lady that works across the hall from me that gets paid nothing, and she's only there for the benefits. Her husband makes good money, and she helps him out a lot with his work and his job and stuff. And she's literally just there for the benefits. Like the pay is just inconsequential. The pay is like is probably 5% of their income.
Well, like it would be great because I'm sure I don't know her status, like, like exactly like how hard she works or whatever, but she probably would rather not be working or doing that. But that's what we have to do we have to figure out ways to like juke the system in order to get shit.
Yeah, like what's going to happen if we get healthcare, which I'm in favor of, and then those jobs that don't really pay that great, or jobs that have people employed that are well above the status of the position they're in. Like what's gonna happen to those jobs? I'm not complaining. I think it should happen, but it'll be an interesting flip when like these people are like, oh, I could get a job at this other place making more money that I didn't do before because their benefits weren't as good. It'll be interesting.
And think about all the degrees that people have. They're like, I got out of school. I mean, the big thing with the student debt, which we've talked about before. I'm not really a fan of student debt forgiveness per se. I prefer like restructuring, zero interest, and finding some way to let's take it back in there. Finding some way to just to help them out. But
I mean, man,
I'm trying to think,
if you're willing to sacrifice, because like you all went to college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, like, and I don't know if you all took out student loans or not, but you all paid for something. I assume, whether like it was like financially, where you had to work and go to school at the same time, so you had to make sacrifices and you had to work hard. Like student loans, it shouldn't be like like, okay, well, here's this debt you're stuck with for the rest of your life. Because I mean, and all that money's just going. That's the reason why Betsy DeVos is a billionaire. Like she could she had a $40 million yacht that got loose from its dock, and she didn't bat an eyelash from it. So like she has that much money, she didn't care about $40 million yacht. Like and that's from just ripping off people for student loans. But like, and that's the third part of the thing. The news about the Joe Biden thing is he hasn't cut a dollar of student loan debt. He was talking about that, and I'm beginning to think that he's not going to do it because he's happy to see people that are just stuck in the rut of poverty. I mean, he doesn't give a fuck. I mean, like at least Trump told you he didn't give a fuck. Biden, told you he gave a fuck. By crossing his fingers. I mean, we might this might sound kind of shitty, but like we might as well have what's the difference if Biden's not going to do this shit?
That was, and I bring that up.
That's one issue.
The next issue ties into that too.
Well, that was a major argument. That's one of those things where it always brings me back to the middle on the student debt forgiveness, because you think about the pro of people not having to pay off debt for the last 15 years, 20 years, and actually putting it into the economy versus paying some bank to get wealthier. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing of like, if we get debt forgiveness and people have more income in their pockets, boost the economy, which makes a lot of sense. I don't know. That was just the point I was getting to.
I mean, I still go back to like, if they do it, they have to give it to everybody. And I don't mean everybody in America. I mean everybody that got student loans, because I find it horribly unfair that two people with the exact same degree, they got out, say two people with the exact same degree, got the exact same job. One lived well below his means to pay off his student loans, and the other one just put off the student loans and lived however they wanted. That person that didn't set their life aside so they get their debts paid off gets taken care of. It's like, oh yeah, good job. You fucking did it wrong. And here's some money.
See, but the thing is, that's if you make that argument about anything, like, okay, well, this person, like, this similar body, similar job, or like that, but this guy, he could get the coronavirus February 1st, and this other guy could, the vaccine for coronavirus February 1st. And the other guy has to wait to May 1st. And the guy May 1st may get coronavirus, but there's got to be instances of that. But there's also instances of people who, there's people that have been paying on their student loans, and they've been paying for years, and they end up owing more money just because of how, they're not being deadbeats. They're not just fucking around. The reason I paid mine off as fast as I did is because I made it so I didn't have any fuck around money at all, and it was miserable. But I didn't want to be paying on it for the rest of my life because
you're like the loser in this situation.
but the thing is, I should be better than. I should be well, no, if I had to do it, everybody should do it. But I'm not saying I don't want everybody to do what I did. Basically, it was miserable, and I wouldn't wish that misery on my worst enemy.
Well, not to cut you off a little, but everybody here lives for the herd. That's one of my favorite lines ever from Run the Jewels. You do not live for the herd. I just love the idea of you live for the herd. We're all in it together, and we all want to see people eat. But if they forgave your loan, and we've heard about your institution where you went, you literally could have went to Harvard if you could have got in. And then you could sit here, Will's over here with his degree from his institution, and this guy's over here with a Harvard degree by the end of the day. And then everything's wiped and forgiven, which, like I said, it's great that somebody else doesn't have to deal with that student loan. But at the end of the day, he has a Harvard degree and you don't. So that's the only problem I have with it. I prefer that he doesn't. Well, but he also chose to take in $500,000 in debt to go to Harvard.
But the thing is, his choice wasn't him. His choice was to make a better life for himself. And if you make a decision to do better for yourself, you shouldn't get penalized for it.
That's what
That's exactly what we're talking about, though.
But
you made the decision to better your life, and you're getting penalized for it.
No. But the thing is, you get no. Give me a second. Let me think this through. Okay, no. You make a sacrifice. You go to school. Mm-hmm. And and things don't work out the way you're supposed to, because that's what happened to me. Now I'm still saddled with that debt, and I had to pay it off, and I paid it off, because I'm one of those people. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'll always obligate a contract, because I never want anybody to say, "Hey, that motherfucker's a deadbeat." But I also know that I've gotten caught in several different just bad loan situations where I wasn't smart enough to know the thing. And I was a victim of predators. And I know I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
So and the money it'd be something that money that I was spending went to the betterment of the community, but it fattened up the pockets of banks and in the payday loan people and the student loan people. And I don't want them getting any more money. They've got plenty. I'm for them not gaining anything. If you want to pay for education, if you want an education and you're willing to make the sacrifice, it shouldn't bankrupt you for the rest of your life.
The other side of this is I've worked with people that are making, $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 a year. And they, in their leading up to that, they got $100,000 in debt for, going to extensive school, not getting so much getting ripped off. Just that was the price of the passage, I guess. And they're living in really nice fucking houses, driving Lexuses, and complaining about paying off their student debt. And it's motherfucker, you're not the same as the person that, is working Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. The thing is, I think that's kind of that's like a white buffalo of the herd. That's a rare occasion. It's not the
majority, but it's all these people, and it goes back to the ADV China show I like on YouTube a lot, where they talk about like the Chinese people just keep getting bailed out by the government, so they just don't pay their debts. They're like, we'll just put this shit off, and the government will just bail us out over and over and over again. And
yeah, and we see how horrible China's
as a nation by that. It's like, I mean,
no, but we also see like how horrible off China's government is right now. I mean, how they don't already own like 75% of the world, like there's obviously something to doing that. Like maybe we shouldn't saddle like poor people with debt.
Yeah.
So, the problem is like their system we have is like you've got people that are poor, and you want them out of that cycle, and maybe the schooling is the only way to get them out of that cycle. But then you have the predators swimming for looking for blood. I mean, so I just refied. We refied on Friday for our house, and every time I go to a closing, you get that page where it's like, here's what it costs you for this loan after 30 years. And you're like, Jesus Christ, that's like 1.3 or 1.5 of what I'm actually paying for this, like of what the house is actually worth right now.
That's, I mean, I'm sure if someone could explain to me, it would make sense, but I swear mine was like almost double when I had like a high rate, just because it was high rates at the time.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy is like, oh, your APR is say 3%. And you're like, oh, it's not bad. And it's like, how does that equate to double? How does that equate to double $150,000 or $120,000?
Programming too, my RPG programming that I was talking about earlier. There's a equation we run. It's pretty much a compound interest equation, but we were trying to determine experience points and what experience points equals the new level, right? And we did a 5% modifier. So like in the early levels, if you play RPGs, it's like 100 XP to the next level. Like that's not bad.
Yeah.
You like level 40, and it's like you need to get 75,000 XP to get to the next level. And that's how it works. You start adding that multiplier on there, and eventually you get to that giant level. The problem with the student loans, and like when Will was talking about that, is the predatory stuff. To go somewhere, to have someone come to you and say you should come to our school. It's $50,000 a year. And if you can find a way to afford that, to me, that's not predatory. But when that interest rate, which looks small at the beginning, ends up being this large number at the end, that's where I'm like, we should fix the interest rates. But once again, these banks are kind of needed. Banks need to survive somehow to ensure that small business owners exist, that loans can be made. They do have to make some money. They can't run an empty pot. This can't be life. It's a Wonderful Life. They can't just skate by. So they have to make money somehow, because the people that get 0% on their, like they get loan forgiveness to where like their interest rates taken off.
But here's the thing, like banks for so long were able to fuck people on like bounce checks and stuff like that, and so I'm not sympathetic to like when banks go under and stuff like that. I don't care. Like I know it hurts a small portion of people that have accounts with that bank, but that bank got fat off of people. Like the same reason like with the utility companies. Like why should you have to like if you can't afford to pay your electric bill, like and like where you're waiting, like they cut it off on Tuesday, but you don't get paid till Thursday. Why does that utility company entitled to like for you to repay your deposit again
or a reconnect fee or whatever?
Yeah, when it should be like, okay, well here's what like because they have no problem sending out a disconnect person, but the same truck's coming up and it just redoes what he did. Like, somehow you have to pay like $80 or $90 for that shit.
But then once again, if I owe Derek, if I loan Derek $10 10 times, and I say if you don't pay me to get the next loan, you have to pay me $8. And Derek doesn't pay me on 5 of them, it's recouping some of my losses of money I gave Derek. I mean, it's I understand what you're saying, because overall, we don't want a big company that's worth billions of dollars hanging over our heads and having that power. We're not full capitalists on this call on this podcast. Yeah, we don't want the banks to have billions of dollars.
Well, the thing is, like, one of my favorite stories about like people like they got fucked over and they took it back. It happened in Chicago about 6 years ago, there's a strip of road that was a straight shot, and they used to bust people all the time for speeding on the roads, like because it changed from 45 to 35, and it did that like 2 or 3 times, and they set up speed traps and stuff like that. Well, everybody figured out how to what was going on, so everybody got their good boy clothes on and drove nice through the neighborhood, and the cops couldn't write any tickets. Who the fuck just messaged me? Anyway, so and then they complained that there was a short the people driving good were cause a shortfall in their budget because they were counting on that money, and I always thought, stupid me, that when you pay a ticket for a driving infraction, that it was okay, well, here's your penance to the system. This is going to go for the betterment of to educate people how to drive safer and to fix the roads and stuff.
Yeah, fix the road.
Yeah, but it wasn't it was still it was part of their budget to do repairs to City Hall and stuff like that. So it was funny that they thought, okay, well, we're gonna rape these people. And these people are no, you're not gonna rape me. Go fuck yourselves. And then they got mad because the people didn't want to get raped. And I know, equating
we're sitting here with these blue balls people. What are we gonna do with blue balls? You get a rape on.
We've been listening to Rape Me nonstop for 24 hours, getting pumped. That joke last week, I think, should have got a better laugh, and I'm going to reiterate it. When I was talking about listening to Rape Me, like a rapist listening to it, and the fact that I equated that to a football team listening to Back in Black probably should have got a better laugh than it did. I'm just saying. On to the next thing, guys. Well, I was talking about we might as well have Trump in office. Well, Biden did something very Trumpian the other day. This last segment about Biden. For some reason, we attacked Syria again, and this is the fourth time that I've known in the past 15 years where we've droned Syria. Obama did it, Trump did it twice, and now Biden did it, and I can't figure out why. Do you all know?
I think they're Iranian. I didn't really look into it. I think it was Iranian.
Well, they said some bullshit there was a contractor that got threatened by an Iranian, which great, but that doesn't mean okay, well, we could drone strike somebody, kill 22 of their citizens. This pisses me off because if Trump would have done it, when Trump did do it, people were outraged. Now, I don't know, people are pissed off, but they're not as pissed off as I think they should be.
Well, it's funny, the Democrats are hitting them really hard for doing it, as opposed to everything always being partisan.
But we didn't elect him to be a Republican. He got elected as a Democrat. And I know he basically won because Orange Man bad. But if he just going to do the same thing that Orange Man did, why do we even get rid of Orange Man?
But I mean, I don't think that being a Democrat is specifically fucking peace flowers everywhere and ejaculating peace signs or anything. Well, Democrats, I mean, both sides are very war.
Well, they're both part of the military-industrial complex, and they both. And the thing is, everybody, because they all got contracts with Raytheon and all that shit, and it just pisses me off because, it's basically justified every kind of anti-U.S. propaganda, about how we're just bullies and shit like that. All this does is just solidifies all those countries, they're right. And not to bash America too much, but because it's not everybody here, but the people in charge are doing it on our behalf. And they're doing it with our money. The same money they could be raising minimum wage for $15 an hour with. We're doling out the fucking stimulus checks. I mean, we murdered 22 people for no fucking reason.
Almost a lot of that stuff, though, it's almost always damned if you do, damned if you don't, though.
I mean, it's a larger scale problem 6 months down the road. I'm not a war hawk by any means, but if it is a back your shit down type of drone strike, I don't know. It's one of those things where we're still imperial. I mean, we still protect our assets all around the world, and the more shit we have spread out all around the world, and the more shit we're into, We're
more
gonna
shit we
have
got to sling.
discussions. Say what?
So the more shit we got to sling.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, they showed Iran, like they showed on the map, and they showed all these military bases. The United States military bases are like surrounding it, and it's just like we put those there. Iran didn't just go, "Hey, look, there's some spot right here. Let's move our shit in like it's a vacant lot." No, we shouldn't be fucking with them. They don't.
A lot of that is defending our allies as well, because Iran's been very antagonistic to the people around them. And we're allies with them, and those allies requested our support.
I don't know. The
It's
thing
complicated as fuck, and it's annoying, and
Yeah,
it just sucks. We keep dealing with stuff abroad where, we even had a president that's like, "Hey, let's just only worry about America." Since like I don't know, Washington, we were actually trying to get out of a fucking country. Then now we're trying to get into every other country.
Well, I forgot who said it, but I think I heard on Penn Jillette's podcast. He said that if the United States as it is was around during the Civil War, we would be invading America, and fighting with either one side or the other, whichever side would benefit us the most. Basically, because that's what we do with other countries. They're having civil wars. It happens, and unless it's genocidal, we shouldn't really be intervening. And we only intervene genocidally, when because I'm convinced, that if Pearl Harbor didn't happen, we would never got really involved in World War II.
Maybe not. And with FDR knowing about what's happening with the Holocaust and what's happening with this and that, and he dealt with Jewish pressure from Jewish Americans to intervene, and it was like, the Japanese bombed us. I guess we should probably finally join this thing. And
what's the shit? I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. It'll come to me in a second.
But then you mentioned something like, how we'd be now. But I just thought about us getting our independence, setting up the country, and dealing with France. We dealt with France because we wanted help with the British. We were done with them, but not really. It was like an ex-girlfriend that still called, and you're like, yeah. We couldn't get a clean break from them, so we needed a little help. And so it was. I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, even three cavemen in the past, if one is fighting the other, he needs a third guy to help him out. I mean, I don't know.
Will touched on genocide, and that was one of the biggest problems I had with Obama. Was they were committing genocide in Libya, and he's like, "All right, no-fly zone. We're gonna fuck you guys up." And this goes back to what we were talking about Syria. They started committing genocide in Syria, and it's like, oh, they're friends with Russia. We'll just let them kill their own people en masse. Like, who gives a fuck? And it's like you can't have standards like that, or diplomacy like that. You can't be like, oh, you can't do that, and then this country does it, and like, eh.
I was thinking of Rorschach and his head exploding in this.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, it seems like we only care if there's something to be exploited from the land, and and it just, and that pisses me off. I wouldn't respect it, but I would at least go, you know what? They're at least being honest about it. We're only there because they have a resource that we want, and we're just gonna take it. It'd be more honest than this fucking when Trump did it, he pretended to be. He goes, yeah, there was babies that were gassed and stuff like that, and we didn't see any proof that it happened. But on to the next thing. A little fun in the news. The honorary Ted Cruz Bitch Sucker of the Week award. They beat Ted Cruz again. Did you all follow the CPAC stuff?
Yeah, for the most part.
He has continued his reign of terror, and it's amazing that that list we did last week, where there was 11 things he fucked up on. He added to that list with 7 or 8 more things just with one event. All right, at CPAC, he made light of his spa day at Cancun. I mean, the whole time Texas was without power and freezing. He made a crack about masks, despite almost every one of his fellow ball-washing Trump defenders catching COVID. Like, Rudy and Herman Cain, Chris Christie, Louis Gohmert, Matt Gaetz. But the CPAC, before Ted Cruz spoke, the organizers came out there and tried to tell people, hey, put masks on. And they got booed off the stage.
Yeah.
And if you look at the crowd shot of those people, there ain't a mask one to be had. And of course, this is in Florida, because in Florida, for some reason, they don't, I guess all the people that died there don't matter, like COVID wise.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't count.
All right. Who was it? The crowd chanted freedom, because you know how tyrannical masks are.
Yeah.
He also made light of the trauma that was inflicted on AOC by the insurrectionists that he helped encourage. But on the other hand, her proving that she's the better person, she raised $5 million for her state while he was in Cancun and fucking around in Florida.
Yep.
This made me laugh, but it just it shows just the waste of the party. They sold toilet paper with Nancy Pelosi's face on it, which I don't know. I mean, it's
pretty cool,
but it's just you guys are you're purposely wasting resources to make a novelty gag gift.
I don't know if you were going to mention it, but Cruz also talked about how great it was to be in Florida, and it's like, as opposed to Texas, where your people are.
Well, and you pointed out in our group chat, that the shape of the stage was shaped like an odal, which is a popular symbol that's used in neo-Nazi and Nazism culture.
Nazi rune.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's no with the swastika. You can kind of say that it's so the wheel of Dharma turned a little bit. When I was reading about that the odal, all it was for. It was designed specifically for Nazi use only. And the shape of the stage is shaped exactly like it, except it's got red, white, and blue on it. It's got the flag colors to it.
Well, yeah, you gotta, paste our colors over Nazi insignia.
It's like they see it and go it's not like it's a circle and then they do an oval, a slight oval. It's literally a distinct shape. It's not like there's any, you can't deny it. That's the problem. Like I said, if it was a circle, if this was bad and yours was like this, but no, this thing is very similar. It's hysterical.
It's also when I was talking to my mom about Ted Cruz, and that's why I jotted down the notes. And she goes, do you remember before he made the decision for the Supreme Court that Ted Cruz was on Trump's short list for Supreme Court nominees? So that dude could have been part of our the highest court system. Did y'all hear something?
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like there was fuzz, but anyway, he was very close to being Trump's Supreme Court pick, allegedly. All right, and then but my notes, I was I would like for Ted Cruz to take a cue for the next story, and this is one of my second favorite story of the week. That John Gedrick guy, he was the coach of Team USA, the gymnast team. Well, he's charged with 24 felonies and looking at basically spending the rest of his life in jail. Then he killed himself, and the world's better off without him. And I was reading about it, and they're saying that one of his victims was saying that she feels kind of cheated because the attorney general that was going to make the case, he didn't get his day in court to actually have to face down the accusations. But accusations only matter if the person actually gets convicted for them. Because I don't know if you all know much about the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Jeffrey Epstein got charged a long time ago, but somehow walked away with a really sweet plea deal before, before that shit happened a couple years, like where he allegedly hung himself.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I'm for like whenever people do this shit, I'm all for it because I don't think very many innocent people do this shit. But so fuck him. And hopefully, if there's a hell, hopefully he's cooking in it.
You also don't have the victims having to relive it by going through a court case and possibly having to
testify.
And it's like, you could say like, oh, he doesn't get to go. He doesn't have to go in front of the judge, and it's like the dude probably doesn't care. Like, I mean, yeah, he cares about going to jail and being caught and looking bad, but I don't think he feels bad about what he did to those people because he did it en masse to like many. He knew what he was doing.
Well, no, the thing is, it's not like one person made an allegation from like 30 years ago.
Yeah, where he's like older and like, oh, like I feel bad for doing that. I'm a terrible person, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't justify it by any stretch of the imagination. He's got hundreds and hundreds of complaints, like and I don't think 100 people. So like the Cosby women that they accused him of rape, like I don't think all those women got together. You know what we gotta do? We gotta take down Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
like I don't think that like if it's one or two people, like maybe there's some kind of collusion, but like the larger the number, the harder it is to hide a conspiracy.
Let's take down Bill Cosby at like an age where he has no power, probably the least amount of money he's ever had, and he's not really relevant anymore.
Well, yeah, he's basically on his way. I mean,
yeah,
Bill Cosby. I don't think he's probably going to be dead. But on to the next. No pun intended. Like FBI informant and Proud Boy leader Enrique Tarrio is claiming that the Proud Boys are the scapegoats of the insurrection riots on January 6th. Now, there's nothing more to this story. It was because I don't want to really talk about them, but I can't tell you guys how glad I am. As fucked up as some of my friends are, and most of my friends are your all's friends too. I'm so happy that I never had to talk any of them out being fucking Proud Boys. Just I had to talk a couple of them out joining like our friend Fingers. Like I had talked. He tried to enlist in like 3 different the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and I had to talk him out of it all 3 times, and because he kept because they dangled college in front of him, and I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. If you want to go.
Did he go to recruiter and he was like, do y'all have like a Ninja Corps division? And like, oh yeah, totally. Like you totally be a ninja.
You totally beat me. Damn it.
And he's like, all right, I'm signing up.
Well, it just popped up. My internet connection is unstable, so y'all may be losing me for a second.
You cut out a little bit before, but it wasn't enough to miss what you're saying. Okay. What's funny is because I'm pro gun rights and stuff like that. I don't mean like, oh, every child should have an AK-47 or anything like it's stupid like that. But like I'm a gun owner and pro gun rights, and years and years ago, it's probably been like 7 or 8 years maybe. Somebody that I work with that's also a big gun person got in this group and invited me to this group, which was the 3 Percenters. This is like early in their formation, and they were just like pro guns people and stuff. And it was on Facebook, and so I'm like, sure, whatever. So I'm part of the group, and they're talking about pro gun stuff, whatever. And slowly, the crazies were eking in, and it was getting a little more crazy. And they were, it was faulted the way they were trying to do it, but they were like, oh, we need to show up this event to provide protection for people, and in case something happens. And for the most part, they were trying to be both sides. So like, let's say if it was more towards today, like they were like, oh yeah, we need to show up this Black Lives Matter protest just in case people attack the black people. But it was faulted because it was definitely leaned more towards I guess white type things, of course. But they slowly I mean, and I was in that Facebook group for maybe 4 or 5 months. It wasn't that long. And I could slowly see like the crazies eking in and getting a little more crazy and antagonistic. And so I was kind of, not like, okay, this isn't like something I'm really for. But what's funny is I posted a anti-gun rights or pro-gun control meme. It was like a stupid meme. I don't remember what it was, but it's like, one of those ones that like everyone should have recognized was being a joke. But I posted it in the group and then they banned me. So I was like, okay, whatever. And now they're like, fucking nut jobs, just like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. They're all up there with the fucking insane, pretty much white supremacist militias. And yes, I'm sure there's probably black members, but fuck you guys. You know what you are. You know what the majority of you all are. And you know that you don't stomp down the fucking white supremacy talk in your groups.
Yeah. Well, that's the that Ricky Tario guy. I'm not 100% like his racial makeup, but I think he's Spanish and I think he might be African American. Like half he might be mixed.
Yeah.
But whenever a white supremacist gangs get somebody like that believes the same shit, that's like catching lightning in a bottle for them, because they can it's like, no, we're not racist. See, look, there's a black guy right there. See,
yeah,
we don't like that black guy, so we like all black guys.
They will befriend them and put them up on a pedestal as long as they're useful, but behind their backs, half the members are like, "Oh, that fucking N-word, blah blah blah." And wasn't the head of the Oath Keepers or some part of the Oath Keepers, wasn't it like a trans woman or something weird that was at the Capitol riots? I saw something like that, which I thought was really.
That was with the Oath Keepers?
I think so.
That does kind of stick out.
It was weird, but
white men.
Well, when Breitbart had that Milo Yiannopoulos guy, like Steve Bannon, it was said that he was so happy that like there was a far right gay guy that understand that appealed to younger people and the tech crowd, that that's why Milo got really famous really fast, because he stuck out. I don't know if y'all remember him or not, but he's pain in the ass. But on to the next story, guys. Andrew Cuomo had a week. Did you all follow this shit at all? Mm-hmm. Several sexual assault accusations and using intimidation tactics to silence the nursing home deaths. It's a bad look. And on Twitter, before, between me writing this and me reading this, I checked Twitter and AOC did condemn him, and I'm like, good for her, because I wish that.
What Barry?
I said she's looking for an investigation. She's pushing to make sure that that he's
as much shit as she gets, and I'm kind of wishy-washy on whether I like her now. I think she gets a little too antagonizing, which doesn't solve anything. But she's definitely shown she's not afraid to attack her own party for their faults, which is.
People pick on her for not being a good politician because she's a better human than a politician. It seems like she actually gives a shit about people. That's what I've always told people. I was like, love Bernie for the same reason. Like, I feel like there's sincerity in her. And I can't say that about really a lot of politicians.
And the problem is she's got a little bit of, probably us. She's got a little bit of, the posting sarcastic and demeaning memes type thing. And that doesn't always fly real well up there with, all those curmudgeon fucking assholes.
Well, it's embarrassing. Like, that's why, I don't know. There should be an age limit on Congress. Well, any kind of politician, and I'm not talking about like the youth part. I'm talking about after once you hit retirement age, you shouldn't be allowed to be a politician anymore. There's no reason.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, there's no. as much as Bernie, and he appeals to the youth, but Biden and Trump and Clinton and they're all part of that same generation, and they all grew up when things were really, really good if you're a white person.
Yeah.
And life changed. Like they were all teenagers in the 50s and the 60s. Like when like everything changed. And they're still like, they in their own separate ways, they kept trying to recreate what the 50s were. And the 50s really weren't that great to begin with.
Especially
I
if
mean,
you're
it
white.
just well, no, like because it's sort of like my criticisms of like Happy Days, like it's my problem is that like they made it seem like that reality that never existed,
Yeah.
and people use that as like like the basis of like things, and politicians do, and after you get a certain age, you shouldn't be allowed to like dictate what like people. Once you hit retirement age, you should be able to have a say so in what people that have to work for a living, like like what they have to go through, because it's a completely different ball game.
I was going to say, like,
But
the important thing for them being in there is they know, like you mentioned retired, like they know, or they should better know what people in their age group and retired people need. So like their interests need to be met as well. But those people dictating what people in their 20s should be doing, like they're fucking out of touch. I'm sorry. And the problem is that we need more young people in there that understand, what the even what even us may not understand about the people younger than us.
well, when Zuckerberg was I think he had testified at Congress. When he was talking about like the tech stuff, all the old people were like just really confused. The only people that kind of understood what was going on were like the squad and like people like Rokana, because like they kind of understand like how the internet works and like how tech works. I mean, then like when that whole Robinhood stuff happened a couple weeks ago, like probably the only person in Congress that understood what Reddit was probably AOC. Nobody understood like exactly how it worked or what it was there for or what use it was. And I don't know. I heard one of them say it was the dark web, and it was like, no, Reddit's not the dark web. It's just basically
Not even close. It's like the opposite of the dark web.
like
It's not hidden at all.
That's great.
no. I mean, it's not like it's probably like it's probably the top 10 most visited sites like in the world.
Yeah.
But I don't like going there just because it's too confusing for me, and I get lost. I get stuck in wormholes, and
Yeah.
like 8 hours has passed. I'm like, well, shit. I forgot what I came here for.
And all of a sudden,
But
you believe the Earth is flat.
I'm questioning Building 7. I'm thinking one of the Secret Service guys accidentally shot Kennedy. Like it's really convincing arguments on Reddit.
He's playing.
This is something like I was thinking about this. Like Andrew Cuomo, like every day on his way to work, he drives over the Mario Cuomo Bridge, which is his dad. Is a bridge named after his dad. Do you think that does something to somebody's fucking mind, where they just like like they feel like they're like royalty and they can do whatever the fuck they want to?
I'm not saying that it, any of this stuff definitely happened, but it would definitely lead credence to thinking they can get away with sexually harassing people or molesting or raping or whatever he's being sexual assault. I guess he's being accused. So it would definitely lead credence to the possibility that they feel like they can get away with sexual assault and doing it without thinking there's going to be repercussions, especially pre Me Too movement.
Well, because like the Kennedys are held about lionized, and in all honesty, like we probably should have had we should have had 24 years of Kennedys. Like we should have had John Kennedy from 60 to 68, Robert Kennedy from 68 to 76, and then Ted Kennedy from 76 to 84. But it didn't work out that way because John got assassinated, Robert got assassinated, and that same year,
Ted drove off a bridge with a girl in his car, and instead of contacting the police, he went to sleep. And and I it's one of those things that people just kind of. It's weird how people will just kind of, especially if they're our buddy Tim, who used to be on our show long ago. He always talked about Ray Lewis. He and Brad would talk about Ray Lewis, and it was so funny because whenever they did a highlight thing about Ray Lewis when he was retiring that year, they kind of just glanced over the fact that like two people were kind of murdered, in a nightclub that he happened to be in. Now, there's no saying that Ray Lewis actually murdered somebody, but he knew what happened. And they do the same kind of fucking wishy-washy thing for Ted Kennedy. They go, well, technically he kind of did the wrong thing, but he had a human moment. It's like, well, yeah, he drove off a bridge.
That's
with somebody in his car. He swam to safety and went to bed. And
that's
and then. Well, then I asked my boss about it. I'm like, why wasn't that big a story? Like, because he lived through that shit. And he goes, it was a big story, but he goes, the craziest shit, he goes, what happened? Like the next day we landed on the moon, and that was all anybody talked about. Like, it was the bigger story, and that's how Ted Kennedy kind of escaped.
Holy shit! There's your conspiracy right there. Is like the moon landing was faked to cover up the Kennedy thing and draw attention away from it. I mean, look at all the shit Trump did and was accused of, and the recording it, or him saying like grabbing women by the pussy, that was totally ignored, and he still got resoundingly voted in and almost got voted in a second time.
Yeah. But anyway, let's wrap the news off. Now we get depressed. But here's a feel good story. I'm a big animal rights active person, and like. There's a rooster who's outfitted with a knife for an illegal cockfight. The rooster tried to escape, and when the owner got a hold of him, the owner got stabbed in the leg and died due to blood loss. Like, this made me happy because cockfighting should be something that's not permitted worldwide at all.
I mean, it should be only for, gay men to do.
Well, that's called sword fighting.
Or docking when they win.
Yeah, but there's no reason they're chickens. They're not if they have any violence in them, it's survival. And when you're making them fight to the death, it's really. I'd rather them do it like with humans. That'd be great. But anyway,
bum fights.
Yeah. No, not even that. Because I used to be a fan of bum fights, but then I started thinking about it was really fucking cruel to do that to people.
Oh yeah.
If I'm homeless and you're gonna give me $15,000, that's cool. But yeah, if you're giving me a meal and $100, that's not cool.
I mean, you didn't have a meal and $100.
Here's a half a bottle of whiskey.
Well, I mean, it's like you're talking about wanting to fight. It's like the dogs. Like those dogs get basically traumatized into being a fighting animal.
Well, I'll finish out the story with the line because it made Barry laugh. I'm happy the guy's dead. He's fucking around with an animal like that. He fucked around and he found out. That's the news.
So what's our subject?
Oh yeah, what is our subject? No, I'm speaking of our subject. I'm gonna go use the bathroom and get my dick out.
Oh my god!
But now I need to use the bathroom. We'll do a little pee break and then we'll come back and
do a little cockfight with the toilet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see who wins. The toilet's about to find out. All right, I'll be right back. Yeah,
discuss it.
All right, everybody back from peeing. It found out.
Tank we're draining.
You're wondering. It found out. The toilet. I mean, never mind. You seem lost.
Yeah, it's like what? That was so long ago.
Yeah, that was like a year ago. Will, were you trying to say something?
I hung out with my friend Eric yesterday. And he did a joke that he used to do all the time when we worked at Winn-Dixie. We go to the bathroom, and where he go to the bathroom and he come out, and he just go, man, that water's cold. He's talking about pissing in the toilet, and it always made me laugh. And he did it again. He did it yesterday. He came out of the bathroom and goes, that water's fucking cold, man.
I had a boss pull that on me, and it was kind of like, "Are you cool or not?" test, and I failed it. Because at first I was like, "What?" Because he came up to me next to me at the urinal, and he's like, "Hey, ooh, water's cold," and I'm like, because I'm more flabbergasted they told this joke to me in a workplace environment, but I'm like, as he like went away, I was like, "That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny." But like he thought I was like fucking square. That's a great joke though. Such a classic. But speaking of,
it would have been funny if you went, man, I don't know. Like, did you just want me to suck your cock? Is that code for something? Like, you just completely misread it?
Yeah. Is he like a manager to you or anything?
me, yeah.
You sure that he wasn't, propositioning?
Like, I need someone to warm it up. ...
Yeah.
Oh shit. But anyway, speaking of wieners and such, we're gonna cover The People versus Larry Flint today. I don't know. I guess Will's probably got plenty of background on it. So in terms of movie / reality, actual events that led up to it. As I discussed earlier, me and Derek had not seen it before. If you haven't, like I said, mid-90s, Woody Harrelson, Courtney Love, even a cameo from Larry Flint himself.
Yeah.
The guy that played Falwell, I was like, is that Falwell? How did he get Falwell? For some reason, that to me was Falwell in my mind. So I had to look it up. I'm like, nope, that's not Falwell. But Will, do you want to, I guess, take it away or do a quick synopsis of the movie, or like what?
Well, no, it's just were y'all familiar with the director Milos Forman? He did. Well, he's one of the dudes, one of the rare people that he's got 2 Oscars for directing, and he directed 2 Best Pictures. Like he did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he did Amadeus.
Oh, okay.
And like he's from Czechoslovakia, and he I believe.
Yeah.
And he made several movies, like The Fireman's Ball, and he did James Cagney's last movie, Ragtime. Have you seen that, Barry?
I've not seen Ragtime, no.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. He wasn't prolific. He didn't make a whole lot of movies, but like Kubrick, whenever he made a movie, it was like the equivalent of like another director's making 4 or 5 movies. So like it's like how special Tarantino movies are. It's just a fun, like in the mid 90s we started getting movies because porn had been around long enough that like it became almost mainstream. This and Boogie Nights came out within months of each other, and it kind of like they were legitimate movies that dealt with pornography.
Yeah.
And Larry Flint was a crazy character in himself. I don't know if I necessarily like him as a person, because like there's a lot of things that like Woody Harrelson did in this movie portraying him that was kind of unlikable. But but we'll get into that. The first thing I liked in the movie was the whenever a movie starts off like with the main character as a kid, I'm always a fan of it. Like and this one, like you see the Flint boys, Larry and Jimmy, they're making moonshine.
Yeah, they're making moonshine, not like their dad. Like I was confused for that. I was like, wait a minute, the kids are making moonshine.
And apparently that's based in fact. I mean, like and it's not just like like Larry Flint like making up his own legend. In the book that I referenced earlier, the Falwell versus Larry Flint book, his mom actually tells a story. We were poor, and those boys, they went out like they hustled and they were selling shine, and it's just like the mom's telling this story is fucking crazy. Have you off subject? Have you all ever drank moonshine?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did once, and like it was this is what happened to me, because I'm kind of a lightweight when it comes to drinking. Like my buddy Andy gave me he had the mason jar, and like and he gave me we had a solo cup, and he put it up to the first rung for it. He goes, it's hot and tastes like shit, but he goes, but drink it. And I drank it, and it was great because I was sober at noon. I was drunk about 12:15. I passed out at 12:20, and I woke up at 10 o'clock the next morning. I was sleeping so peacefully still that I had drool on one side of my mouth, and a spider was like, okay, this is solid. This ain't gonna move, and it built a web across my face and the wall.
God.
So I mean, like, moonshine was like, I like to have had more of it, but the guy who gave it to me, like, I forgot what happened to him. I didn't see him for like 15 years. And then he completely, I think the story was he got so messed up that like he went the other way, and he had a crazy religious conversion, and now he like teetotaler, and he's anti any kind of fun.
He used to drink the wine, and now he drinks the blood. Right.
Yeah. When I've had it, I've had just straight moonshine before when I was younger, but more recently I've had like the apple pie and stuff like that, and watermelon, and like some of those, like they make them so good you can't even taste the alcohol, which is like really dangerous because you'll get blitzed real fucking quick because you're not, trying to choke down strong alcohol. You're like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, I have a friend that it's ties to, I think it's Eastern Kentucky, and always has it on, and he has apple pie, and he has I think it's blackberry he does.
Blackberry is good too.
I know, pretty good. But yeah, that scene was funny. The kids, and then so I don't know if I talked on camera or off camera, but in terms of my view of the movie, I was kind of an in between on it, and it was, I guess, the biggest problem I had was like its name, and its main topic is the court drama. It's not just like the court case at the Supreme Court. It's all of his issues. And it was hard for me. How do you do like a short biography on him and also do this? I don't know. The way it ran together was kind of interesting. Well, I don't know. That was the part that I had a problem with. The movie was like, why did it show that? Now it's here, and all of a sudden we're like really here now, and I don't know. It just seemed like I didn't like the chronology of it, but
yeah, it did kind of jump around where it could have felt more natural.
Because it felt like it's about censorship, and it's about this, and then it's about Larry and personal stuff. I don't know. It just did not mold together. But those strip club scenes that follow the kid scenes were pretty funny to me.
Like so sad. Well, I like the kind of bigger lady that comes out and it's like shooting guns.
And the guy's like winking at her.
The thing, there's two. I have 2 points. One is like I usually hate biopics because like I forgot who said it, and when Wyatt Earp and Tombstone came out, they came out around the same time. Wyatt Earp tried to tell like the whole person's life in like 4 hours, and Wyatt Earp is really not that good of a movie. It's kind of boring. Whereas Tombstone basically just centers on the OK Corral, just an incident in their life, and and the focus is narrowed and everything like that. And a beginning to end story, you're always gonna leave stuff out, and then and you never want to and very rarely do you have a biopic about somebody who's kind of a shithead. Or if they are a shithead, you focus on the great thing that they did that changed humanity, and that. I usually don't like biopics like that because it's idol worship. This movie again, and I think it's because Woody Harrelson's that good of an actor. He's not afraid to be an asshole, because there's a couple times during the movie where he proclaims himself to be an asshole, but we'll get to that. A thing that I really wish would have happened, I wish that there had been about another 10 more minutes of them as kids. Because Larry Flint had that crazy of a childhood. There's just all kinds of crazy stories that happen to him. And I don't know, I just wish that and it's weird that these two movies came to my mind, but they're similar if you think about it. Goodfellas and Richard Donner, the very first Superman. The Christopher Reeve, where you see Superman as a kid before he becomes Superman. I wish we could have seen more of Larry Flint 1.0 before we got where he's managing strip clubs.
Yeah.
because like by the time, like when he was 14, he joined the army when he was 14. He lied about his age, and somehow he got away with it. And then by the time like he was 20, he'd been married and divorced twice, and then he started like running strip clubs like that. And it seemed like that there's some interesting shit that they kind of cruised by, but he had an interesting life, and at that point, that was 20. He still had 24 more years of life left in him. So I mean, like that's because he wasn't dead yet. I mean, he just died recently.
Yeah.
But
I think if this was done after, if it was post death, I think it'd make for more interesting movie. But I mean, to do a movie and have him in it as well. I mean, they sugarcoated his life. I mean, they totally did. I mean, there's things that, like, I was really confused. They don't really talk about when they charge him with organized crime, for instance. But like, he did have some ties to organized crime, but nothing is ever mentioned about it in the movie. So you're like,
well,
that seems weird. Like,
well,
it was a strange thing to put in there. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, back then, if you own any kind of nightclub or strip club or any kind of you were basically a lot of people were laundering money for the mafia was slowly dying out. It was becoming most of the mafia people quit doing things with machine guns and started doing things with lawyers and
Ledgers
doing corporate way. And
not the
so I mean,
this computer is dying. So let me go get a cord. Go get my adapter.
Okay.
Hang tight.
All right.
WTF.
Motherfucker. Here I am. We're having a good time, and Barry had to fuck it up.
Yep. Woke up a wet dream. So, in my review, like I was kind of disappointed there wasn't more like car chases and like space battles and stuff like that. I was hoping like early on to make that joke to where you would think I was serious and have to explain to me that it was a biopic.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Man, I miss the IMDb forums. I don't know if you're ever part of those, Will.
Yeah, I wrote a review of No Holds Barred that I think would be like, I probably should have won awards for it.
The review might still be up there. The forums aren't up there, but I think the reviews are. But it's kind of like your. I always forget. It's like I come farts. Is that what it was?
Oh, farts make me come.
Yeah, farts make me come. There was a guy that I randomly came across that, like his goal was to go into the forums of different movies, and all he would do is he start a thread asking like, "Are there any good car chases in this movie?" And he didn't seem, or he or she or whatever it was, didn't seem to like only pick certain movies because like, he might go in the Fast and Furious and ask, "Are there any good car chases in this movie?" And all these people are like, "Oh yeah," but then like the director of this movie, he would go in like the Valmont movie and be like, "Are there any good car chases in this movie?" And people are like, "There's no cars in this movie." Everyone would take him seriously and get all pissed off at him.
You're charging. We're set up. I'll leave the room, and Derek's got some fucking tools he's working with.
What's up?
All right, I'm sorry. So what were we talking about?
How Ted Cruz is like bitch sucker of the week.
Yeah.
And Larry Flynt.
Yeah. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked, you all touched about it. The music in the strip club fucking made me laugh. Like, like the sad country music. Because I just can't imagine, like, could you imagine getting a lap dance or a couch dance or something like Happy Trails? Like, we're
really slow and depressing.
Yeah.
And the swing. The girls are just like on a swing going back and forth. Like, what the fuck's going on in this strip club?
But it's, well, I mean, again, it was a different time. Oh, this is something I wrote down I thought was interesting. Like the subtitle that pops up, like when when he goes from being the kid to being Woody Harrelson playing Larry Flint, it says Cincinnati 1972. And I was trying to look back at it and like because I knew Jerry Springer was mayor of Cincinnati sometime in the 70s, and he wasn't when Larry Flint was the strip club owner, but he was on the city council. He was a city council member before he came there in 1977. Now, did y'all ever hear? This is off topic, but I thought it was interesting. Did y'all ever hear about like why Jerry Springer had to quit politics? He allegedly he got the services of a hooker and paid her with a check. And, now I could be wrong, but I don't remember. I think I heard it on Howard Stern, so you gotta consider it a source. But like he did that and he got caught, and that ended his in his political career. He started doing Cincinnati news, like he was like the weatherman, I think. But the depressing strip club music we touched on. Also, the entrance of Courtney Love as Ophelia, that's one of the best entrances for a character I've ever seen in a movie. And because then I forgot how adorable Courtney Love was at that time. It was wild too because she was playing an underage girl, and Courtney Love was probably about 34 at the time.
Yeah.
But I was texting Derek. We were texting Derek last night about because she will always look like someone that came out of a crack den to me. I don't know. I was like, I loved your moves, but I'm like, you just look like I don't know. It's like the skeeziest.
Looks like AIDS walking.
Yeah. Like AIDS walking, as Derek put it. But yeah, what's the deal with that? Was the underage stuff? She wasn't like underage.
She was 17.
She was 17, like when she was stripping, but if her portrayal was any bit as accurate, it seemed like she wasn't a newcomer to stripping. So, and I guess back then nobody cared about IDs, where it was really that different in the world where you could just do whatever you fucking wanted.
Well, yeah, I like how it's like I could lose my liquor license, and it's like I think you would go to jail for a long time these days. I almost feel like she would be an interesting movie. Her life, because it sounded like her life was pretty wild and effed up.
Oh yeah, the stuff that they touched on in the movie, she talked about her father murdering her family.
Yeah.
That really happened, and and her cousin shooting a preacher in the back, that really happened too. It's because these two crazy fucked up people ran into each other, which is kind of it's a recurring theme in Woody Harrelson movies from this era. All the character actors in this movie are they all y'all spotted Crispin Glover, I assume.
Oh yeah.
But Milos Forman liked doing this with his movies. He liked having characters that had unusual faces. He liked having mugs. It's something like Preston Sturges or Frank Capra would do in movies. They'd have a face. They have an actor that was kind of handsomely ugly. They kind of stood out, and they'd have them just mug for the camera, but because they were just interesting to look at. Let's see what else we get there.
Yeah, who's the guy that has the mustache, the bald?
Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah, he's always that guy. He's always you always catch him. He's got a unique face. D, did you catch Larry Flint in the movie? Did you know much about Larry Flint before?
I read about it later, but
I didn't know he did a cameo. So all of a sudden, I was like, oh, there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, the anti-porn crusader that James Whitmore plays, his name's Charles Keating. Are you guys familiar with this guy?
I had heard when I got to the black.
All right, we're back after my computer blue screening on me, which thankfully saved the recording. So the last thing we were talking about, I think, was Althea Flint, Courtney Love's character, being underage when she first met Larry Flint.
I didn't. So, Will, you say a second ago you talked about her being a really good dancer, but her also being 17. I didn't think about that at all last night. I was just she's underage and she can really strip. I didn't think about how long has she been doing this, but that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, if it played out like it did in the movie, then she was 17 and very sexually active, I guess you could say, and very aware of her body at the time, which is, almost always points to, being a victim of sexual abuse and stuff like that. So
Yeah, which I thought was weird too. And they showed him as a kid, kind of more or less being like an entrepreneur, I guess, more than anything. But like when he gets talking to Jimmy Carter's sister, and she kind of asks him like, "What was your childhood like?" It was almost like she was like hinting that something was wrong with this childhood. Not judgy. She was a very I don't know how that person was in real life, but they didn't sell her as a really bad person. I thought she was a nice person. She cared for him, but it was kind of like, it seemed like you're obviously disturbed. What happened to you in your childhood is how I took it. But yeah.
Well, she was a evangelist, but she stood up because she was a female evangelist.
Yeah.
And she also stood up because she was the president's sister. All the other evangelists, like Falwell, Oral Roberts, Jimmy Swaggart, and Billy Graham, they're all like talking about the evils of the world and putting them down. And she was more or less trying to love the sinner, hate the sin kind of thing. Not condemn, not co-sign that AIDS is a plague for gay people, on behalf of God.
Well, I imagine that a lot of this movie was from Larry Flint. A lot of the basic movies from like Larry Flint retelling the story. So I imagine she must have been, maybe the real deal, because as anti-religious as he was, I think he would have buried her in the movie if she wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that it didn't get touched on. She because they hooked up in the late 70s, the Ruth Carver Stapleton and Larry Flint, and she died of pancreatic cancer in 1983, and they didn't make mention of that in the movie. So I mean, and I don't think that he had any ill will toward her. It's just a lot of people abandon religion when something traumatic happens to them.
Yeah,
and that's about what happened to him was about as traumatic as it got. And did you all recognize the brilliance of Edward Norton? At the time?
Yeah, it was. Huh?
He's so young. They talk about it. They make jokes about how he looks, but let's forget how young Edward Norton is, or how he appears to look. Yeah.
He's such a great actor at a young age too, and it was kind of the opposite of what's the movie where he's with Richard Gere?
Primal Fear.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of Primal Fear, where he's like, not the lawyer this time, and that's such a great movie too, Primal Fear.
Well, this also I remember reading a GQ interview with Edward Norton in it, and it's if I could find it, I wish I could, because I'm paraphrasing it best, but I think he ended up dating Courtney Love.
Yeah.
After this movie,
and they he drummed in her band or something for a little bit too, I think.
I don't know about that. No, but he but that's gotta be weird, man, because he when he was in college, when he was acting, Paul Giamatti was one of the guys that he was acting with. Excuse me. And they would unwind, they'd smoke pot, from what I understand, what I remember about the article, and they listened to Nirvana's Nevermind. Which that's gotta be a weird feeling that he's listening to Nevermind in 93 or 94. Then 3 or 4 years later, he's dating Kurt Cobain's widow. And that's got to be a weird fucking just turn of events. Thing that I wrote down in my notes, and the thing is, she was fantastic in the movie, but my note was Courtney Love was fantastic. I wonder how she found the inspiration to play a wife of a controversial figure that had drug problems.
and have her own drug problems and be very slutty.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, you say she looks slutty. I thought she was hot the entire movie, but I guess I've got issues.
Yeah, I've never got the fascination with Courtney. I mean, like you're talking. I mean, Madonna had a name for herself, but like for rock, like Courtney Love was almost like the ultimate groupie. I mean, she was with Kurt, she's with Billy Corgan. Now she's dating. I mean, she was passed around. It seemed like she was in a relationship with like, everybody. In the
Edward Norton.
Say what?
And Edward Norton. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Well, and also, she's also temporarily the lead singer of Faith No More back in the late '80s.
Huh.
It's before Mike Patton joined.
That sounds awful.
Oh, I don't understand the hate for Courtney Love. I mean, I don't like her as a person, but as a musician, like she had some very catchy songs.
Well, so here's the problem. So you take the first album that Hole has, and it's a little rough, and then you take the album Live Through This. That's their I don't know if it's their biggest since the second one got more poppy and or the third one got more poppy, but Live Through This was written with Kurt wrote it. So like it is a quintessential grunge album from that era, and it's on the list. Like it's a great album. Her singing is okay to me. I mean, comparatively to other frontwomen. I don't know. I just never got her talent. Really, it's like I guess kind of like Yoko. I mean,
oh bullshit. I'm calling throwing a flag on that one, man. Like
Yoko plus then. I'll say Yoko plus then because I've never got her talent.
Well, the thing is, Yoko just would like she do like crazy things like she's like like when John Lennon was playing guitar, just make these godful noises that were just. But Courtney Love could like sing, and she can obviously dance because of this movie, and she's a pretty good actress because although it seemed like she was just playing a version of the most exaggerated version of a person that she could be, a couple years later in the Man on the Moon, she played a completely different character in another Milos Forman movie, and she was equally as good.
Yeah, that's to me her best ability is acting. Like so, I love Live Through This and some of the whole songs, but yeah, I just don't know. But
I think she's. I wish she would have done more movies. I don't know why she didn't.
Yeah, she did good. She did great in this.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, I wonder how good of a worker she was. I guess you could say. Was she a Lindsay Lohan?
But the thing is, like, it's something that, like, acting and being a musician is one of those are some of the only jobs you can kind of get away with being a prima donna.
Yeah.
Like the shit that Marlon Brando did to Francis Coppola in Apocalypse Now should be considered crimes against humanity because it basically almost killed Francis Coppola. But but they were willing to put up with it because it was Brando, and not that Courtney loves Brando, but she's really fucking good. I think I was looking it up. The Oscars that year, this got nominated for. It only got nominated for 2. It got Milos Forman got nominated, and Woody Harrelson got nominated. And Edward Norton got nominated, but not for this movie. He got nominated for Primal Fear. But Courtney Love didn't get nominated, and it was both the actress and supporting actresses fields were stacked. Frances McDormand won for Fargo, and Juliette Binoche won for English Patient. So, but I think she's probably not as good as Frances McDormand in Fargo, but that she should have got nominated for supporting actress. I mean, because the Academy usually likes it when singers do act like Streisand, Cher.
Streisand and Cher, but this is Courtney Love. I think the Prudes. I don't think they ever would have nominated her for anything.
I don't know, man. She was hard. I've seen this movie many times, and I don't know. Spoiler alert. But you probably shouldn't listen this far if you haven't watched the movie. Her death scene, it fucking had me in goddamn tears. That was just, because I mean I knew it was going to happen, and this happens to me in certain movies. I did it with this movie. And I do it with $1 Million Baby, where like I know what's going to happen, and I just hope like okay, maybe just one time the movie gods will shine down on me and make it right, so I get a different ending. But that's not how movies work.
Yeah,
like but like, when he's gives her the ride on his lap to the bathtub, and then like he's fucking with her. And they legitimately their relationship hadn't been about sex in years, and they basically been in that fucking compound, just getting high and fucked up all those years, and then they had to get sober together, which that's enough to kill somebody alone. Like we're trying to get rid of a bad habit, or somebody else that's like that doesn't care that you're trying to do that. It's while you were gone, Derek, I was talking. Me and Barry were talking about bad habits, and I talked about my smoking habit, and I had to have a health scare in order to stop smoking. Where I have a lot of shit going on when I'm sleeping, like air conditioners and TVs and podcasts and stuff like that. And the electricity got knocked out because of the storm, and I woke up and I heard myself breathing. When I was breathing in, I was going, and when I was breathing out, my lungs were making this crying noise of. It's like an Atari noise, and then like I looked up my doctor Google, and it said like warnings of COPD, and I smoked for the rest of the day, and I quit when I got to work. So, but like if I would live with somebody who was smoking, and I tried to stop smoking, I'd probably still be smoking. So, but anyway, so and the water when it's coming underneath the fucking the crack of the door, and he goes in there, and it's. I remember showing my ex-girlfriend this movie, and she did this with this movie, and she did it with Carrie, where she goes, "This is why you like the movie, isn't it?" Because in Carrie, there's a scene where Sissy Spacek's naked in the bathtub, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a naked lady, but like in Carrie's case, she's dealing with the trauma that just happened to her, and in Ophelia Flint's case, she just died. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing erotic about it. Like it's a I mean, like, and that's something I'm amazed with, like, when actors and actresses do that shit. Because that was really her underneath the water. And that's not a special effect. So she had to hold her breath so there's no air bubbles and give the appearance that she was drowning and not, like, take a deep breath when Woody Harrelson pulls her out of the water. That alone should have got her Oscar nomination. Fuck the Academy.
So something that... So... the nephew that lives with me, Lucas. So he asked me how the movie went last night because he came upstairs and was just checking in, see what I was doing. And I told him what we were covering today. I told him the synopsis as we were waiting to get into the haircut place this morning. And he brought up an interesting question. And I don't know. I didn't know how to answer him, but this shows how great my parenting skills are. He asked me if Larry Flint or people that are paraplegic take Viagra, do they still get boners? And my answer was yes. Because the blood still flows to the penis, but like he has nerve damage. And he's not going to feel it, but he's going to have a boner. Are we right? Is that correct?
I have no clue.
What do you think? I mean, this critical thinking to me suggests he's going to have a boner.
I think we should ask I think Will should ask our fan base, Facebook. We'll talk about it next episode.
Okay, that's for her to be an absolute sex fiend. Both of them are sex fiends, and then all of a sudden he loses the use of his lower extremities, and like no wonder she like moves to pills.
That's also like, yeah, like you mentioned the movie, both things that like he can't walk and can't fuck, and like I'm pretty sure not being able to fuck was probably much worse than not being able to walk for Larry Flint. But I looked online, I couldn't find it, but I wonder how she got AIDS. Like, was it from sex or drug use? And I assume he didn't have it. I didn't look to see if he had HIV or AIDS, but I thought that was.
Well, the thing is, like, there's no, like, well, because like I'm sure they weren't being hygienic with their needles, for one thing. But like but again, that's speculation on my part. All I know is what I saw in the movie. Like, and there's a scene where she shoots him up, and then she's like, all right, now one for the doctor, and she takes, and like, she got tracks in her arms and stuff like that. So I don't know, like, because it seemed like if she would have had it, he would have had it.
Yeah.
I would assume it's some sort of sex because it's. I mean, they talk about it early on when they're in this when he's proposing, when she's kind of like they're talking about marriage, and she's like, "I want to be married to you," but he's like, "I don't. That's not for me." And she's like, "No, you misunderstand. Like, we're still gonna fuck everything all around us. We're gonna live the life we have now." But we're gonna be married. I want a ring on my finger that says that I'm yours, kind of thing. So I would take it that they just continued that lifestyle, and she eventually, because sharing noodles between the two of them, if they're still having parties, which you see the crazy party when his parents come into town.
Yeah. He puts his parents in that bed that those girls are on. The whole
Yeah.
time I'm like, are they gonna like accidentally like touch a stain or something?
I was thinking they're gonna find a wet spot or something. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's just I have to believe if they're still having parties like that after he's in his wheelchair, then that's the only way that they could really bring it in. If they're sharing needles with guests or whatever. But
Yeah.
it kind of, I mean, the movie sells it as in like you literally have the door shut like a safe door. So to me, it feels like they're just in a cave for 4 years with the doctor bringing medication by, I guess, dropping it off like freaking Columbia House and
So Michael Jackson's doctor, probably.
Michael Jackson's doctor. Yeah.
Well, it's shit. Y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought like there's another thing I was looking at. There's another interesting thing I found out about this movie that Woody Harrelson wasn't the first choice. That Tom Hanks and then Bill Murray were the first and second choices, and I can't imagine after seeing this movie, because like basically it's Woody Harrelson playing Larry Flint until like he gets paralyzed, and then and then he has the transformation scene like where he has the beard and he starts talking like Larry Flint,
Yeah.
and that was like a method actor Daniel Day-Lewis kind of thing, because he sounded just like Larry Flint.
Yeah.
Like, did y'all ever hear Artie Lang do an impression of Larry Flint on the Howard Stern show?
I bet you I did years ago.
It was so funny because he goes, "Yeah, I'm doing a very tasteful profile picture." It's like and he goes, "Here, it's two nuns scissoring with a fish." Like he'd say something like that, and it was so fucking great. But anyway, the other thing too, like this was like AFI did like their top 10 genre movies, like for each different genre, and this was a nominee, and I thought it was going to be for biopic, but it was for courtroom drama, which I thought was pretty wild because there is courtroom stuff in this movie, but it's not the gist of the movie.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of. Oh yeah, before we get cut off, we were talking about Charles Keating, the guy James Whitmore played. I think that's where Derek locked up on us.
Yeah.
Were you all familiar with him at all?
I knew the name.
The actor?
Well, the actual dude.
No.
I looked it up, but they mentioned it briefly at the end of the movie. He's part of the Keating Five, and he was doing like junk bonds from savings and loans in the mid '80s, and he ripped off people for like $2 billion.
Oh, yeah,
So this dude that was like doing the anti-porn crusade, trying to right the wrongs and the evils of America, was stealing money hand over fist. So
that's
kind of like
case.
and say what you want about Larry Flint, like he earned his money by giving people something that they wanted. But yeah, and then I actually pulled up the follow ad.
Are you still there,
that,
Barry? I think we lost.
Oh fuck, baby Barry died.
He all froze up. Man, just like Problem City.
Or maybe he's fucking with us.
I don't think he's that good.
Oh shit. Ah man.
I wonder if his laptop died or something stupid. And there he goes.
All right.
What the hell, dude?
That was all you.
That was me?
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, you froze, and then, like, Will's screen looked like he was talking.
Me and Will were still here, like, talking shit about you.
Yeah, we thought you died, and then like we felt bad if I was wrong. What reason why he's laughing there is because I said the same thing about you when you froze up.
Thought you had a stroke.
I said Medusa walked in and just like petrified you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, did you all? I actually pulled up I looked up the actual ad that like Falwell like was suing for, and it's pretty fucking funny. Did you all happen to read it at all?
Mm-hmm.
He's telling like the ad was the first time it was a parody of a liquor ad, and basically it made it sound like like these celebrities that were endorsing it. They're talking about the first time that they ever had sex, but the joke was it's the first time they ever had that liquor.
Yeah.
And and Falwell, it was funny. He's like, I remember the first time it was with my mother in the outhouse, and basically we didn't have enough room, so we had to move the goat out. And it was so fucking funny to me, but it was clearly a parody. And like, at the top and bottom of the thing, like in the table of contents, like,
Uh-oh, we got robot Will.
Son of a bitch.
Try unplugging your mic and plug it back in.
What about now?
Nope, you're quiet.
Son of a bitch. What about now?
No.
It's still quiet. It's so weird.
Motherfucker.
Probably have to have you reconnect again.
Jesus.
Oh, hey there, Barry.
What's your shirt?
It's Bohemian Rhapsody, but Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah. I had something like that for the Universal Monsters, but
Yeah.
wore it out.
I swear I bought that for you, but maybe not.
Probably did. You probably did. I finally got rid of my Star Wars X-Men shirt. It was pretty much like a dark gray. Like it had been worn out. I went to my closet, had to toss so much stuff. I was just getting my closet was so heavy of stuff and wear stuff. So,
are you there, Will? Is he beating off again? Always beating off.
he beats off and he pulls the cord out and it fucks the sound up every time.
No, he's like, I need to beat off right now. So let me pull his cord out and act like I'm having technological difficulties. So
let me show you an example of Will right now. He keeps having these technical difficulties.
All right.
What he's doing, the cord's fucking breaking.
I think he's quiet again.
Pulling a carradine and breaking the cord.
Are you there, Will?
Am I here? You all hear me?
Yes, a little bit, but still
you're like real quiet.
What about now?
Still low.
Son of a bitch, I can try it again.
Make sure it's selecting the right mic, because are you on a laptop or something?
Yes.
It may be switching to your built-in mic, so make sure the mic is your USB one. If you know how to do that.
What about now?
Oh. I think going forward, he should just scream at the top of his lungs the rest of the show.
Because it's like if you unplug the mic and plug it back in, it may automatically switch to your built-in laptop mic instead of the USB one.
Okay. Son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
We need to get like big money so we can have like a tech support guy like at Will's house.
This lives with him. That's what he needs. He needs a short round that lives with him.
It's like, yes, Indy.
My name's Will. Yes, Indy. Yeah, I say you just do like a robot chicken and do the rest of the show just like robot chicken style, some like action figures.
How about we just like me and you will alternate doing Will? Like, oh yeah, this movie's really great. My name's Will.
Like, wear a mask, don't be a cunt. Can you hear us, Will? I'm about to go get coffee. I'm gonna go pee again. I've got technical difficulty.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, go pee.
Yeah, okay.
Go get your fucking coffee, motherfucker.
Did you figure anything out, or did it just work?
It just worked. I think. I don't know, the chances of both USB ports being bad seems like, I guess it's possible, but I think it's the cord.
Yeah, it could be.
And I don't know why, it will just kick me off, and it will say, now you're using computer audio, and it will go to the shitty mic that's part of the laptop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would explain why it gets quiet.
I don't know why it does that, and I wish there was a way I could disable that laptop thing. I don't... It's fucking infuriating.
So how much do you want to spend on a computer?
I don't know. Just I want enough that where this shit doesn't happen. Where where if I decide to turn the camera on, it's not, everything doesn't just fucking lock up. And plus, I don't know. Is there a way I could transfer all my files and shit like that from old computer to new computer?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay. Because I need, because I've got an old copy of Microsoft Works on my computer, and I've got 8 screenplays and shit like that I've wrote on them, and I don't want to start over on any of them. And I like Microsoft Works. They don't make it anymore. It's a bootleg copy.
Yeah, the files aren't a problem, but programs can be a problem. So, I mean, you'll probably be able to find a way to get Works on there, but I think he was going to pee and get coffee.
I also like how my beating off impression involves wrapping a cord around my neck.
Strangulation, yeah. Did you ever watch the show? What's it called? It follows 3 guys on Comedy Central, and they're workaholics. You ever watch that show? Will? Oh, there he is. I heard a giggle.
I heard a giggle. Okay, now he's back. I heard like a low volume giggle. I was like, "Son of a bitch, happened again."
Well, no, it's the thing. I was talking to Derek, and then it's almost like you came back into frame, and it got quiet again, and now that little green box lit up around my name, and it seems to be working fine again.
Okay.
So have you ever watched Workaholics, Will?
No, I haven't.
You've watched, haven't you, Barry? Or seen some of it?
Many a times.
There was a movie that starred those 3 guys, and it was on Netflix or Prime. It probably still is, and it was like they were caterers. They're kind of like the Three Stooges. Like they're always trying to find a job, and so they got this job. I think they were catering at this fancy hotel that was having a big event, and then it gets taken over by terrorists, and then they're the ones that John McClane it basically. But the best scene in the entire movie is one of the characters. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Where one of the terrorists comes into the bedroom and they're all trying to hide, and so he goes in the closet, strips down naked, and makes it look like he he died hanging himself while masturbating in the closet. So the scene is just the terrorist opens the door to the closet, and there's a dude hanging there holding his junk with his dick out, and it's straight up. There's no disguising what it is. And And then I think like the terrorists start having gay sex on the bed next to him.
Yeah.
While he's hanging there, and he's like, "Shit, what do I do now?" It's
Yeah.
such a great
Game Over, man, is what you're thinking of.
Yeah,
It's on
Game
Netflix.
Over, man. It's
Came out, like,
not a
last
great
year.
movie, but it is a great movie.
Oh no, it's a fucking hysterical movie. I love those guys.
So there you go, Will. That's on your docket.
Okay, I'll watch it. I think all it took was my microphone fucking up and Barry making fun of me for autoerotic asphyxiation to trigger that.
I heard Jared giggle a little bit. I was like, "That's a good joke." I'm sorry, that's a good joke.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the cord having issues is because that's the cord you use to string yourself?
No,
You
it's
put
not.
some tension on it.
There's not enough. There's not enough work in it. Like, you know, I need a little bit more play in the cord. Anyway,
So, what the fuck were you talking about?
At least we're on the subject of fucking porn and jacking off, though. You know, still.
Yeah, still, yeah.
The interesting thing that you talked about was the courtroom drama thing, Will. So, like, to me, the only part of it really that plays in that courtroom drama thing, the speech at the end when they're in the Supreme Court, Norton does a really good job there. I think that banter and the justices, that whole entire scene was good. Like, I don't know what it actually looked like in Washington D.C. at the time, but like, I mean, they were bantering back and forth, kind of cracking jokes. I mean, doing the self-deprecating stuff that, you know, Larry is kind of a scumbag, and then, but most of it that turns me off on Flint is the stuff that he was pulling that was pissing his lawyer off in the other courtroom scenes where he's just. I love the "fuck this court" shirt that he wears at one point in time. When he goes in and he has the I remember the American flag diaper thing. I remember that part of the movie.
Well, it's weird because when I was looking at the Wikipedia and it was showing like a timeline and things when things happened, it's like, shit, man. There's like a lot of these things were in our lifetime, which just seems like it should have been a while ago. But I guess I'm misremembering how prudish our nation was when we were younger.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned shock jocks, or you talked about
Howard Stern.
We brought Stern up, but we left Stern out in a topic earlier about the '90s, and I forgot what we were talking about exactly. But like, to me, in my generation, Stern was a big guy in normalizing sex because of, you know, what our parents thought of when he came on E Network, when his show started showing on E Network. Everybody, I grew up thinking Howard Stern was just like a shock jock that showed girls' titties on his TV show. And it seemed like every time I'd try to make my mom listen to Howard Stern, it was the one episode that he had the strippers on. You know, like, it was like, come on, dude. Where's the one where he's got like, you know, like Stephen Hawking on? You know, like, it's not that one. It's the one that's like, yeah, my name's Cherry.
No, it's not that one. It's the one where they get like a brother and sister on to have sex.
yeah.
But
Like much worse than that.
But I think go ahead.
No, when I first got Sirius XM, like whenever it's like 2007, 2008, I had to take my mom ended up going to the hospital, and I had to take my mom and dad home because they rode the ambulance up to Lexington because my mom got sick. So I had to take them home, and we were listening to the XM, and it was one of the Stern shows where like one of the girls rode to Sibian.
Nice.
So I'm in the car on the interstate, and I hate being on the interstate, as I've talked to before, but it was really super uncomfortable. Like, you know, like my dad's riding shotgun and my mom's in the back seat, and then like you hear, and then like you hear the girl moaning, and then like you hear the girl getting off, and then like did I hear my mom and dad laughing? Like, you know, and I'm like thinking like, fuck, they know what I listen to, they know what fucking shitbag they raised, and now that they're laughing at it. But like it was, but the thing like one of the first things that blew how I found out about the cameo from Larry Flint, ironically, was on the Howard Stern show, because he was a guest on the Stern show. What was that?
Is that Ari? I saw it.
She ran to the drink fridge.
Oh,
Sorry, trying to be.
okay. Oh, I thought it was like an animal that I just I'm not calling the kid an animal. It's just I saw movement and I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, one of the episodes of Stern I watched on E, Larry Flint was the guest, and they talked about the cameo on the show. And I guess he just previously gave Howard Stern asshole of the month in Hustler, which I don't know. It seemed like that'd be kind of a bigger deal, but like, and you think that all the good that Woody Harrelson did for Larry Flint, like, because being played by like a pretty good actor like that should seem like, okay, well, kind of like whitewashes a lot of shit that may or may not have happened. But like a year later, like Woody Harrelson was like asshole of the month because it was like one of his many arrests for like like getting busted for pot.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. It just seems like like Larry Flint should have like I don't know. Maybe it was in jest, but like it seemed like like Woody Harrelson should have got a lifetime pass as far as Larry Flint goes. I think I remember like in that book that I read, The Falwell versus Larry Flint. They didn't touch on it in the movie, and I thought that this was fascinating. The guy that Falwell got to represent him, like his lawyer, how he got that job. Falwell tried suing Bob Guccione, the guy who owned Penthouse, a couple years before that, and he lost that lawsuit. But that lawyer that Penthouse had became his lawyer against Larry Flint, and it just seemed like I guess money is more powerful than anything when it comes to the law, but like it seemed like Larry Flint's lawyer was Alan.
Yeah,
Alan
Isaacman. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he was a conglomerate of a couple different lawyers in the movie because I don't think he wouldn't want to actually got shot, but it seemed like he was doing it because I'm sure he became wealthy off of Larry Flint, but it seemed like he was more concerned and again I don't know how accurate it was, but I think when he has that moment at the end of the movie where he calls Larry Flint on his Gordon Gekko brick phone, that moment seemed like true to what happened. Like a lawyer's dream seemed like it would be to go to the Supreme Court and win, and he actually did that, that's pretty cool. But
in front of the Supreme Court, it's gotta be like the Super Bowl for a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, it just because it's wild that most of the Supreme Court cases that we had, that have amounted to anything, like during our lifetime, were about freedom of speech and stuff like that. Which you think it'd be, I don't know. I guess because I thought a lot about censorship a lot lately because we're having to deal with it now. Because Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that are start censoring their own people, and it seems like we're going to have another case here soon when it comes to tech companies. Because the thing that I've heard most of my life is the answer to bad speech is good speech, but bad speech gets amplified and good speech kind of gets lost in the shuffle. That's and I said to y'all before, we talk about vaccines, you really can't 50-50 arguments because that's how you end up with people arguing about flat Earth and fucking vaccines causing autism and even eggs. If eggs are good or bad for you, people take one bit of information and they run with it and it becomes gospel until it gets debunked, and then after a while there's two different camps, then one camp will win out, and then it will get debunked, and we just keep doing it. I mean, how many times during our lifetime have eggs been good for us, and how many times have they been bad for us? And it's something simple like just breakfast. I mean, and the thing is, literally every human being on the planet would be perfect if eggs ceased to exist as a breakfast food. We'd be okay with it. I mean, we still have to use eggs making other things, but eating scrambled eggs were omelets and stuff like that, we'd be perfectly okay if we never had them again. We'd probably miss them, but it's not gonna. Nobody's had a life or death situation because they didn't get an egg for breakfast.
I don't know, man. Those a breakfast burrito with some scrambled eggs in it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You're fucking crazy, both of you. You got drowned a couple hundred years ago.
What's crazy about this movie, not this movie, but the occurrence of it, and is that it's happened in our lifetime, for one, is that over 200 and I guess at this time 210, 215 years of our history of our country, that we're still dealing with an argument against free speech that is an opinion-based problem. So in this movie, it's not truly like it's free speech and the lack thereof based on antiquated beliefs of religion. Like the reason that Flint gets in trouble is of decency laws.
Yeah.
And the fact that he fights for his right to define decency and happened in our lifetime is so troubling. It's crazy to think that it took that long. You'd think that, like, I don't know, Edison would have this fight in the turn of the century with video, or like, people like Matthew Brady. I think it was Matthew Brady that took the Civil War photos. Like when photography is introduced, how long before the first nude person's photographed, and how much longer, how many minutes after were they run out of town or executed, in our puritanical system. So, I mean, like, it's crazy that this happened 30 years ago, that this guy had to go to court 30 to 40 years ago. I guess the different court battles he had to deal with based on, I have the right to say or share photos with other adults. And I guess that they kind of talk about that part of it too, is the whole idea that, like, the magazine's like in the grocery aisle. Is it? Like, in the 70s, could you go to Kroger and just fucking buy Hustler on the newsstand?
I mean, when we were kids, there was Playboys on the thing, but they had like the cardboard.
See, I was used to bags, or like the black bag around it. Yeah, I don't recall ever having. If the argument's going to be like these smut magazines don't need to be in our children's hands, that's always an argument to have with media. Video games and music, and we talked about the rating system, like books being so old of a media, but like there's no rating system on books per se. But the fact that, like, as adults, I can't print that he got in trouble for printing photographs, graphic photographs, mind you, of consenting adults for consenting adults is crazy. That this movie even had to be made, and that he had to deal with any of this crap is insane.
I mean, it's a never-ending battle. I mean, we're still like, did Jessamine County go wet recently? Or
I was asking questions. I don't know how that went.
Or Nicholasville. I mean, that's another thing, is like liquor laws, or wet or dry laws, like, are antiquations from religious times, and people are still fighting for it.
Yeah.
Well, because it goes back to, like, not only should politicians like not be allowed to be politicians at retirement age, we should probably let the retired people vote, but not count their votes. Just make them think like they're, because, like, it's like, okay, Granny, here you voted, good for you, and they feel good about it, but it just doesn't, like, it loses it. And so, like, you remember, like, in the original Zelda game when you got 255 coins? Like, if you picked up, like, another one, it made the noise that you picked up a coin, but it didn't actually do anything. That's kind of how, like, when you get retirement age, like, that's how your vote should be counted. It's like, okay, well, we acknowledge that you voted, but, like, your opinion means shit because you're retired and you're not really contributing anything to society anymore, except you're old. Here's a retirement check. But the decency thing is I don't know, that book I read about that. My nephew had to do a ABC thing about the Revolutionary War, like what led up to it and stuff like that, and he couldn't find X and he couldn't find a Z. So his uncle Will, like helped him. This a couple of years ago, and I forgot what the Y was, but the Z was Zinger, and it was like and I was reading about it. I was like, man, this sounds really familiar, and I ended up ordering a book about it, and that's how I made a connection to Larry Flint, but also the book makes the connection about page 40, which is pretty wild that I was able to recall something like that. But like that was 300 years ago, like that happened, and that guy really didn't do anything indecent. All he did was just like he reported shitty behavior of politicians in a magazine, and he spent 9 months in jail. Yeah. And like and all the free speech things that like we've had to like during our lifetime, like I remember Frank Zappa testifying in Congress about free speech, and he was against the parental advisory stickers, and just all that shit that we've had to deal with, and it all keeps going back to we keep refighting the same battles over and over again. And the thing is, like either we want a society where you can have free speech, or we want to protect people's feelings. Well, you can't have both.
Modern fight, which just got, I think, trounced because I think the laws passed or whatever was. It's like there's a guy I used to work with. He's an older retiree. It's like love the guy. He's a great guy, but he's also super religious and very opinionated. And him and some of his people were upset about the recent Biden stuff where they're trying to say you can't fire someone for being transgender, and he thought it was, and he was thinking it was an affront against Christianity, and like oh they're saying that we can't fire people because they don't follow in our ways and stuff like that. And it's like this isn't about that. It's about human beings, like giving every human being the same right. Because then I saw a thing recently where someone talked about it, and I think it was in government, and he was going against someone that was throwing a fit about it, and he was like, look, you guys are the ones that 50 years ago or 100 years ago were using the exact same excuse to keep me from having rights, as a black person. And I don't know. It's like
it's the same fight. It's the same fight over and over again because people are dumb. People are ill-educated. They don't understand that like the religious freedom stuff is the freedom for them to practice their religion.
Not freedom to enact their religious beliefs on other people.
Yeah,
that's why there's separation of church and state.
Well, go ahead.
Well, no, because the thing is, like, people have the right to say what they want, and there's some caveats to it. You can't do the fire and the theater or scream bomb on a plane and stuff like that. But like and we need to keep, and it's something that you shouldn't be happy that anybody gets silenced. I mean, I was happy that Trump got silenced on Twitter, just for the fact that I thought that he was the shit that he was doing was encouraging those assholes to fucking riot at the Capitol. Yeah. Like, and like there's been some leaked proof that he was actively and like provoking them to do that. I mean, he might not have said, "Hey, go out and do this," but he kind of like let it be known that, like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool if you all did this, but you all do you, that kind of thing. The thing is, like, the ACLU, like, the people that they usually end up defending the most are white supremacists and religious zealot bigots, like the Westboro Church. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, like, because what they do is horrible, and like, but it's like, it's their right. I mean, like, if you, and like, that whole slippery slope argument is true because, like, if you start closing doors, you'll end up boxing yourself in. But anyway, the this movie is one, like, like, I think it's one of the best movies from the 90s. Like, and I'm a big fan of Milos Forman and love his movies, and I wish he made more of them. Because Derek brought up a movie called Valmont, like, earlier, and that's one of those movies that he probably should have got nominated for between Amadeus and People versus Larry Flint. But it was weird because it was Valmont and there's another movie that came out around the same, Dangerous Liaisons. It's almost the same story, and they beat the shit out of each other in the box office, even though they're both great movies.
So there was something else that came up. I had mentioned the fight for free speech, and somewhere in there, I remember the scene. And I don't like what I've read about him versus the movie. I don't know what's real and what's not. But the scene where he sets up the free speech group, where he does his speech in front of the video, where he shows like it's a this or that comparison of like, is a nipple bad, or is like this dead Jew from the Holocaust bad? Like, which one's really bad? Come on, let's get real. I don't know if that was an actual real event that happened, but like as slippery as he could be, like if you want to fight against American, like, some Puritanism and how we deal with sex in this country, all you have to do is put it opposite of war and what we've done in this country, and you clearly see that we are looking at this the wrong way. I mean, he shows massacre photos. He shows, like I said, pictures from the Holocaust. He shows all these terrible things that war has brought that you can put on the cover of Time magazine, or take the photo of and win the Pulitzer.
Yeah.
But he shows a woman with their legs spread apart, and he's going to go to jail, which I thought that was a great little montage there. And maybe Will, since he's read more about it, I was really fucking confused when, like I said, it kind of not jumps around per se, but jumps ahead in really strange increments. When he loses his battle and is going to be going to jail for like 25 years. And within like the next like couple weeks, he's out of jail and like nothing happened. Did I miss something? Did I fall asleep?
No, see what happened. No, you didn't fall asleep. What happened with him? He lost a lot of court cases because a lot of times, like but what happened because his lawyers rather, but like they were brilliant men, and usually like he'd fight with them, like he ended up fighting his own lawyer like in court, and get held in contempt and stuff like that. And the contempt charges were things that really kind of put him in jail more than anything else. He refused to shut up. But usually, like, if a judge like would overreact, or if they found any kind of bias in the jury, they would get things overturned.
Okay.
So I mean, that happened a lot with him. I mean, he did time, and he'd been in jail a couple times. But like that I think that Falwell case, the reason when that got him out when he countersued because of the
copyright
infringement, like I think like he did 15 months in like for contempt of court. I think I'm not 100% sure, but like he was in jail for a long time, like but you go ahead, Derek.
I'll say it's funny because I looked that up, or it's funny that you mentioned that scene. So I wanted to mention it earlier, but I didn't. Because I was a bit distracted when I was around that part of the movie, and I thought I'd missed something too because I was distracted. But it's weird the movie didn't explain it because when I looked it up, it was like they basically deemed that it was basically a corrupt court hearing, and I think he only spent like 9 or 25 days or something behind bars instead of the 25 years.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing like he kept like and when he got offered that, like when he found God and the guy was willing to drop the charges, and like and he told him that he'd see him in court. Apparently that really happened, and like and that really wasn't that strain of a because the lawyer Isaacman, he was talking about it. I was reading an interview with him. He goes, no, he goes, that was pretty truthful how it happened. He goes, I didn't know how to talk because the DA was willing to drop everything. All Flint had to do was just apologize, but he wasn't going to do that. And he goes, that was the most uncomfortable phone call I had to pretend to take, then hang up and kind of pasty up the reaction. But but the trailer for this movie is kind of misleading because it makes it seem like it's like it's a drama, but like they made it seem more dramatic than it was, and because there's not, like Derek said, we were talking about car chases. There's nothing like that in the movie, and there's a couple gunshots, but there's the dad shooting at the beginning because he got hit in the head with a moonshine bottle, and then the assassin's bullets. But there's nothing like they made it seem like it was nonstop action in the movie. But I told you all, did you all read up on the assassin guy?
Yeah.
That to me is fascinating because that guy confessed 2 years after the movie, and I'm not for people going back and re-editing movies, but I wish that they would put it on the Blu-ray. I wish that they'd have an addendum, with a news source, because they made it seem like the guy never got caught for it, but he didn't get caught at the time.
Well, technically he didn't because he was never tried for the Larry Flint thing. He was a crazy white supremacist religious nut job that I think he killed 8 other people, and so he went to trial and jail, or was put to death penalty because of those other things, and he was never tried for the Larry Flint stuff.
I don't know, and also whatever flaws Larry Flint had, he wasn't a hypocrite because. I was reading about, because he was always against the death penalty, from what I understand, and he, and the guy confessed to it, and he tried to get that guy off of death row, which that's as far as forgiveness goes, that's probably the most Christian thing you could that you could do, I guess. I mean, I guess that's easy for me to say, being not Christian at all, but he forgave somebody that tried to kill him. And changed his life permanently. When he got shot, he still had 33 years of life left in him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about just. I think it's happening with me as I get older, because I turned 41 this year, and I think Barry, you're 241 here shortly, and Derek, you're not that far behind us.
Yeah.
I'm getting older, and I'm starting I was talking off air to the guys. I had a friend whose father passed away this week, and I lost my father last year. And I'm starting to, it's happening more and more to our friends and people that we know, that we're losing loved ones that are older, and some people due to the pandemic. And I'm finding more and more that I'm fascinated by history that happened while we were alive, because it just seemed like history was always something that happened before we were born. And a big part of this story takes place while we were kids, and it seemed like it should have been maybe not for us, because we would have been in second or third grade, but it seemed like this would have been a perfect thing for kids that were taking civics and stuff like that, or learning about the Constitution. This would have been a great teaching aid as it was going on, but that probably would end up being a court case. You guys are showing pornographers. But yeah.
I mean, he's like I said, as sugar-coated as they make this movie, they make him to be in the movie. I mean, it's super hard. I mean, any type of Supreme Court case like this involving, it almost feels like there's good versus evil in a court case, and he's the good person on this side, but he's still just a scumbag. He's he's hit his wife. Like they talk about that relationship being, like he pushes her down at one point in time, and she's like, never touch me again. But apparently he'd beat her several times in the relationship. He was just, his enforcer tactics with those vending machines and like, the organized mob ties that they don't talk about in the movie. And there's just a lot of stuff about him it's off-putting. So yeah, you can't really like, it's almost like it was like Hitler versus Jerry Falwell. Not necessarily, but like, how do you, if Hitler in that moment was on the right side, you're not going to be like, go Hitler. Like, you're not going to do that, so maybe you just kind of let it.
The thing is, like, the movie, for the most part, is focused on kind of some degree was focused on the court cases, and when it came to his court cases, he was generally right. And he's generally on the side that we want, where it's like freedom of speech. But I mean, if he went to court in the movie because he beat the shit out of Althea, then yeah, we'd be like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, it's one of those like hard to cheer him on, even though in those court cases he is on the right side. Yeah, so it'd been interesting if we like tuned in or like Channel 1 covered that back in the fucking day, like Larry Flint, our hero today.
Well, the thing is, I think he actually says it during the movie that he's basically the worst of us. Like, and that, like, and I don't know, and we should, I guess, like, if the ACLU is defending like the white supremacists and Proud Boys and shit like that, then we at least know that if decent people are ever they need help, there's already the ACLU is proof that they'll help anybody as long as it's on the right side of speech, which I guess is a good thing. But it is. It's back when that Westboro church was like the big thing, and just and seeing them hold up the God hates fags signs and stuff like that. Like, it was hard to look at that. Just think we're having that guy just say, yeah, God loves dead soldiers and stuff like that because we allow gays and abortions in this country. Okay, what does one have to do with the other, and why does it
those people are completely insane and evil. There's a good show that I think we should watch, where a documentarian follows around one of the I think granddaughters of that head of the Westboro Baptist Church, and it's really interesting because it kind of humanizes her, but at the same time you see cracks every once in a while, but at the same time she full well believes all that just evil nonsense.
Well, actually, Falwell and Flint had more in common than they ended up becoming friends, which is weird. I don't know if you all read that part. They mentioned it in Wikipedia, and and I guess it was one of those things where they were just on the battlefield so long, looking against each other, they ended up having some kind of respect for each other. But Falwell was the face of that moral majority crowd, and that's the same moral majority that got Reagan in the office, and we've been dealing with ever since. But I think his net worth at one point was he died I don't know, 2007, 2008. His net worth was $300 million. I mean, and if he's worth that, that means he had to generate 10 to 50 times that amount, to be worth that. So that's how much religion businesses make and cost. That's just one dude. That's one evangelical guy, and that's one dude that's begging for people's money on TV. Now, Larry Flint, he was probably there's also something that was weird. Did it all seem prehistoric when he went to the magazine shop? Because that's something that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
When he actually goes to the
just
full store, that's magazine store.
Yeah, that's wild to me because they had magazine aisles at Kroger when I was a kid, but there was actually stores where you just go in there and they just sold magazines, not books, just magazines. I mean, so like I've never seen a newsstand in real life, like like they have it like in the Watchmen, but Larry Flint, like at the height of his publishing thing, was publishing hundreds of magazines, like he like not just porn but like legitimate magazines, and he was probably making about $30 million a month. Jeez. I mean, like I mean, I don't know if he was ever technically a billionaire, but his products generated billions of dollars worth of money. So I mean, like these two, they both knew their audience, and I mean, and they took advantage. I mean, they gave their audience what Falwell gave them, the old time religious bullshit, and Flint gave them smut. So I mean, and it just seems like ideally, like in a perfect world, they can coexist side by side. But I guess we don't have an ideal world though.
Well, it's kind of like we just watched Dark Knight. The kids Ari had never seen Dark Knight. It's been a while for me, so but it's kind of like Batman and Joker. I mean, they are definitely two out of their mind crazy people. But they do a dance, their entire comic book lives, I guess. I mean, they both see each other as heroes and both the other guys villains, and it's almost like it's like the most perfect counterpart for both of them, Larry Flint and Falwell. Well,
I mean, because the thing is, like, it's sort of like the Ali Frazier thing. Like, those are the only two dudes on that planet, on the planet at that time, that could say where, like, they had a unique perspective. Like Frazier was looking at Ali and Ali was looking at Frazier. And that's, like, and Falwell and Flint, like, basically had, I don't know how close it would have been, but like everybody's free speech was kind of like, on the line because of that court case. That could have set a new standard for like a libel, which it seems like that should libel should only mean like if you get damaged and it's clearly not a parody, or if you say something, if you like Penn and Teller had a workaround for this, like the reason they call their show bullshit is because like if they had to go to court, if they said like like so and so was a fraud, they could get him for libel and slander and stuff like that. But like if you go, hey, they're full of bullshit, and like and like their argument would be like, well, do a blood test and see if there's any bullshit particles, like like any actual shit that came from a bull, and then like and then we're not. It's parody, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you called your channel Parody Force, and then all your shows on there just spouted silly bullshit the entire day. Yeah, it's like no, it's clearly we call it parody. That's why it's called for a reason. But yeah, it's well, I mean, that was a great way of handling. Once again, don't know if that's how the trial went, but I love that they were like, Jerry, it's preposterous that you would drink, right? You never touch this stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, it's insane. And they're like, yeah, and you never had sex with your mom, right? And he's like, no. Like, okay, cool. I rest my case. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, satire. I mean, what would happen? I mean, SNL would have been dead in the water. I mean, it was already bad in the 80s, but like, if they couldn't perform parody or do any type of satire, that show would have been dead.
It'd be a sad world if we didn't have parody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like I don't know exactly the nuts and bolts of it, but it's why we still like they just recently stopped doing Mad Magazine, just because like nobody was buying it anymore because nobody was buying magazines. But like Mad Magazine survived for almost 60 years doing parody of everything. Yeah. The political cartoonist we have the guy who does it for Lexington Herald. His name's Joel Pett. Like he actually, I think he's got 2 Pulitzers, and he's brilliant with his stuff. And like and if the libel laws were slander, whichever one technically it would fall under, like we wouldn't have political cartoons.
Yeah.
And as goofy as it seems, like if we, like, if without the parody laws, we wouldn't have Weird Al Yankovic. And can you think about how shitty a world we live if we didn't have Weird Al Yankovic? I mean, come on, guys.
Wouldn't have South Park.
We
wouldn't have. Well, I mean, like all those shows, like Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, King of the Hill. I mean, like Archer probably wouldn't be allowed. Yeah. Rick and Morty, fuck no.
Well, I'm glad that you did pull this movie out, because like I'd never seen it, and Woody Harrelson's always a treat. I could take or leave Courtney to love nudity, but that's there's other nudity in the movie, so that made it all right. Let's see, Ed Norton. I didn't know how old he was in that, because he really just looks like a baby. But
early 20s, what he looks like.
Yeah,
I don't know what he looks like.
It was a great movie. Like it was a great, like I said, the cast was good. The only problems they had, like this, if they found a way to really truly pin down what they wanted to talk about, if they found a better way to chronicle that story in a chronological order that made more sense to me, and then didn't cut out certain things. And
well, what do you think was missing? Because it seems like it's a complete movie to me, dude.
Well, I mean, I think what he's saying is the same problem I have, is it just kind of jumps around, and it doesn't seem to have like a streamlined narrative. It's just like, oh, we're here now. Oh, we're here now. And I think that it's funny because, like, I think the movie could have benefited from being longer, but at the same time, when I'm watching it, I'm like, fuck, this movie's long as shit. You know, it's only like 2 hours.
It's one of those things where, like, if I had it on paper, if I had like a storyboard, the storyboard of the movie, I could probably sit there and go like, let's take this out, and then we need some stuff here. I could figure out where the filler goes, but it's really hard. I don't know. I don't know.
I think more traditionally, the main court scene would have been longer and more, would have been more in depth, instead of like a 5-minute like wham bam thank you ma'am, and then on to the next scene.
Well, here's the thing, like the movies I brought up when I was talking about the childhood, like the Superman from the Daughters Superman and Scorsese's Goodfellas, like those movies are both over. I think they're both 2.5 hour movies, but they fly by, and I think they fly by. I think Goodfellas flies by because traditionally in a movie about 50 scenes happen. In Goodfellas, there's probably like 75 or 80. They're just really quick scenes, bap, 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 and the music's like it's up tempo and everything like that. And I think the Larry Flint movie follows that same kind of thing. I don't. When you say there's something missing, I don't like where you think it's jumping around too much.
I think you may be right. I just don't think it was done as well.
I think the problem is like it feels like a biopic, but then it also feels like they're just trying to do a romance between him and Althea, and then they're also trying to do the courtroom drama part. And I kind of feel like if they could find a way, it's hard. Like, what was it? I can't think of the purpose of the scene that Derek brought up earlier with the girls in the bed and his parents visiting the party. Like, what was really that scene for?
Well, I can tell you, that scene was like that led. The scene after it is when he's in the bathtub and he proposes marriage, and and basically it's to show the odd. If you didn't have that scene beforehand, and Althea and Larry are in the bathtub in the hot tub together, they're talking about marriage. You're like, oh yeah, well, why would he want to give up anything? Like, why would he? He's got or he's just like, if you see what he was thinking about, he would have to give up if he got married. Because any normal dude, would be like, man, that looks like a great life. Why would I want to fuck that up and just be married to one woman when I can do shit like that all the time? It's to show that, the lifestyle that she was part of. In the book, that book, she said, she was quoted saying that, there was times where he was, fucking, 15 women a week, and she picked out most of them. So, I mean, so she seemed they had a crazy relationship, and it also set up at the end of the movie when she says, "I want to be yours," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That,
I don't know. I just kind of feel like it could be more precise. I don't know. I mean,
But-
I'm not a Hollywood writer, so I didn't, obviously I don't have my scripts to show and compare, but I just kind of felt like, I don't know. I just didn't like how it flowed.
It did jump around. Like, to me, it seemed like you could step away from the movie for 5 minutes and come back, and it's kind of the way it felt.
But also here, but the square that circle, or circle that square rather, like when he ended up paralyzed, and she has that. She goes, if you got to put him in a fucking jar, I want him alive. That kind of thing. Like she stood by him, like for better or worse. So I think that's why the hot tub fucking scene, and then the hot tub scene, and then later on when they show that they were a couple until death do they part. But maybe I'm reading into that.
No, that's all fine.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. It was just like, man, I don't know, something about it. Yeah, couldn't tell, and I can't. It sucks. I can't really put it into words better, but like I said, good to know because I knew of the man. I never really looked into his story.
No.
So it's kind of cool to get a glimpse of it, and also the court case. I knew nothing about that court case. So.
But yeah, it's I don't know. As far as biopics go, it's one of my favorite ones. And one of the last things, before we tie it up here, one of the crazier things that I noticed about this movie is that Woody Harrelson did this movie and Kingpin the same year, and it seems like either one of them would have been like the performance of a lifetime for Woody Harrelson, because other than Natural Born Killers, A White Man Can't Jump, he was just primarily known as a TV actor. Those movies, the Larry Flint movie showed his dramatic chops, and Kingpin showed how funny he is.
Yeah.
And they both came out the same calendar year, which is pretty cool. But he's a cool actor. And one last thing, and it's something I meant to look into, but I remembered it. I typed in Woody Harrelson, and I guess there's some podcast lady that's getting sued because apparently his dad was like a hitman or something like that. Did y'all ever hear this?
Yeah, his dad was like a freaking mobster.
Yeah. And so I'd be like, we probably should look into that in a future episode of Borderline Hostility. Because it seemed like it would fit in. Because but I guess without without the part where we end up getting sued. Because, but anyway, is there anything else, fellas?
I think I'm good. I think covered everything and got to cover some of the parallels to what's going on in the modern times with us.
Oh, I forgot to tell something. I had a threat of a lawsuit this week.
Yeah. In real life.
Okay, I'll be quick about it, then we'll wrap it up. Guy comes in and he doesn't have a mask on. I'm like, sir, you have to have a mask on. He goes,
you cut out. What? Are you there?
all right, guys.
This is
Oh my
par,
God.
par for this episode.
Train wreck. Let's call this the train wreck episode.
Say something, Will.
Guys?
Okay, yeah. So you said the guy came in and you.
Okay, let me start over. Okay. Okay, guy comes in, he doesn't have a mask on. I'm like, sir, you have to have a mask. And he went, no, I don't. I have cancer. I go, I don't know how that excuses you for not wearing a mask, but you have to wear a mask if you want to shop here. He goes, so you're refusing me service because I have a disability. I go, no, I'm refusing you service because you don't have a mask on. It's governor mandated, and the governor, and store policy. So if you want to shop in here, you have to have a mask on. And then he said, well, I don't have to wear a mask because I'm technically disabled. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. I go, in fact, like, if you have cancer, it seemed like you would want to wear a mask because you'd be more susceptible to getting the pandemic. Like get coronavirus. Like, there's a worldwide pandemic going on. I'm not just being a dick that hates people that are handicapped. And he goes, well, you have a point, but like, that does what I do with myself is my business. I go, yeah, exactly. And for my safety, you should probably wear a mask. He goes, well, I'm not too concerned about your safety. And then I go, well, great. I'm not concerned about like what you getting shit. You can either wear a mask and come in or not wear a mask and stay outside. There's no third option. And then like he goes, well, I hope you have an attorney. He goes, because I will see you in court. You can't, like, you violated my rights. And I'm like, and then I just finally snapped. And I go, great, thank you. And then I said, like, yeah, last month when I paid my water bill, I overdrafted on a $12 bill. So this is who you're suing. I'm fucking poor. And you're yelling at a convenience store that's... I didn't just make up this is a pandemic. I mean, I start yelling at the guy. I go, if you're really disabled, I apologize. But you should not want to get sicker because there's nothing in here that's going to save your life. It's not like there's some kind of elixir in the store that's going to magically fix his cancer and he has to have it that moment.
Yeah.
And I suspect he didn't have cancer, but again, I'm not going to go, all right, motherfucker, prove it.
Yeah, I mean, he may have had cancer, but any excuse beyond that's bullshit.
But it's just, I can't. Why would that matter? Like, just it's. I've been watching videos too. Like, I don't know if y'all seen them or not. They're TikTok videos of like delivery drivers getting stiffed. Have y'all seen this shit?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking heartbreaking. There's this one dude who's a grown man. And he's crying because he ended up. He got tipped $5 on Uber Eats, but he had to pay a $2.50 parking charge, and Uber Eats took $1.50 of like the money for like I guess the vig that they charge. So he ended up making $1 on a very difficult like delivery, and it broke my heart that like the people that are actually trying to keep things open and going during a worldwide pandemic are getting pissed on.
Yeah, there was that the Domino's guy that is raging in the back of the store because he went on a delivery and he had to stand out in the rain for 5 minutes waiting on the person to answer the door, and they didn't tip him at all. And I was reading an article today about how people are, especially because everything's going like so much to like ordering online or going through like Uber Eats and stuff like that. I'm questioning whether this is true or not with this small restaurant or cafe type thing. It was a small thing was shutting down, and they said the reason they were shutting down was people kept stiffing them on bills. And like they said, like for instance, the biggest order they ever had was a $700 order, and they put it all together, and it was delivered, and the person's like, oh, I was missing things, and they had their credit card company cancel the entire bill. So they lost out on like $700, and evidently the article is saying it's getting bad with people that are stiffing restaurants on orders, saying like, oh, something was wrong, and then they refuse the charge and stuff.
What it's going to end up doing? I remember there's one time I went on a date with a girl that it was one of those things where I just had the balls to ask this girl out, and she said yes. Usually I have to like fucking like make myself do it, but I jumped without a parachute, right? Yeah. That kind of thing. And we went to Applebee's, and like she was running these people to the fucking ground, like the waiter or waitresses, and I'm thinking like, and then I was like, I didn't want to eat because I was like, man, they're gonna dunk their fucking penis in the soda. Because she was just bad mouthing him, and then like when she paid with the credit card, because I was like, it's back when I was poor. We're poorer.
I just thought I figured it was going to be a like, oh, I was paying with my wooden nickels.
No. She was paying with a credit card, and she actually wrote out 0 on the tip line. And I was like thinking, like, man. And then she like wrote a note on the back, and I'm like, well, I can't be around this person anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then because just the danger of getting dick flavored soda, like because you're with somebody that's being a fucking like just treating people subhuman. But
I can't imagine. It's like, I think the worst service I ever had, which I think Barry was there, was we were at Shamrocks one time for a for NFL. Just watching like Sunday NFL. And our waitress like just dumb as a rock, and she never came back to refill my drink like ever. And so I got one drink the whole time, and I ordered the Irish nachos, which is, you know, the fries and cheese with chili, and she brought me the fries with a bowl of chili on the side. I'm like, what the fuck? Which, you know, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, that's probably the worst instance I've ever had, and I can't imagine how bad of an instance I would have to where I would not tip at all and want to write a note.
Yeah,
that's. Well, I mean, it was when we worked at the soup place, like. I don't know. Do you remember that red-haired lady, Barry? She came and she ordered she got like a soup and a salad, and she ate the soup and she ate almost all the salad, and she comes back and she goes, "There's a hair in my salad."
I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, and the hair, Derek, was about 18 inches long, and none of us had red hair. I mean, like, you know, like none of us had long hair or that, and I remember like the manager just give her money. We need her business. I'm like, no, she's getting something for free. That's her hair. And like, you know, and the asshole was like, well, look, like she'll keep coming back if we give her. And I'm like, she just stole food.
Why would you want that person to come back? You don't need their money.
That's what we don't want. Yeah.
Well, no, like, I remember because I remember like it was an all-star lineup of my friends at work that day. It was Barry, Ken was managing, Fingers was working, and Matt Marshall was doing the salads. And like, you know, so I was there with like 5 dudes I loved, and we were all having a good time, but none of us had long red hair. Bitch, I'm still pissed off about that. That's 15, 16 years ago.
She probably died of the Rona.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully she tried that and got hit with a brick.
Yeah.
Anyway, wear a mask, don't be a cunt. Tip your waiters, tip your servers, don't be a cunt.
Tip the girls.
Return your fucking shopping cart.
Return your shopping cart. If you feel the need to flash or blow the convenience store guy, please do it.
I'm gonna just get on a Grinder and send them all to where Will works. And Will's like, why are these guys coming in here trying to blow me?
His boss is gonna come in there, and Will's gonna be getting blown. He's gonna have his mic cord around his neck.
It's like headset from work wrapped around his neck.
All right, everybody. Till next time.
All right.